I think we're good, Bill.
Hello?
Hello.
Hello?
Yeah. Yeah. Everyone,
Judy.
hello, Judy. Everyone who's listening, if you will please mute your devices until it's time for you to speak. We're going to try to get through this. And we're going to begin.
This is Adam.
Hi, Adam. Yeah, I'll call a roll for all of the board members in a few moments. And let me just, hi, Jerry. Yeah, I'll go through all of you in just a few minutes. I will begin here by calling this meeting to order. And I'll begin with a brief introductory statement since we're in these difficult times. Welcome to the Cook County Board of Adjustment Planning Commission public hearing. Due to the COVID-19 concerns, along with the governor's stay-at-home order, the Cook County Emergency Management Declaration, this meeting is being held and can be viewed only via live streaming through the Cook County website in order to maintain a high level for the applicants. Commission
Hey,
members.
Dylan, just to let you guys know that the live stream is going. So
Yes,
we
yep.
can all see you.
Yeah, that's good. We want you to see us. Very good. In order to maintain a high level of safety for the applicants, commission members, and the public, anyone may view the live stream and may submit comments either through the call-in line at the appropriate time or through the Cook County Planning and Zoning email at zoning@co.cook.mn.us. Again, that is zoning, Z-O-N.
On the screen of YouTube?
I do not see your screen. I don't know what's on your screen, so I can't answer that. I'll just tell you what I know from this side. You can.
The chair is on the live screen. On the live screen, you have Don Fuhrer, who's the chair of the Board of Adjustment, and Bill Lane, as the Planning and Zoning Administrator.
Okay, where do I pick that up? I got so many screens going here.
There should be one.
Can't help you with that, I'm sorry, but let me just finish what we're talking about here. If you wish to email in a comment, it is at zoning@co.mn.us. And you can email in questions or comments to that when you get to the particular item that we're going to address. We have 10 items today, 10 hearings to hold. 7, we'll begin with the Board of Adjustment. We have 7 hearings there, and then we will move to the Planning Commission, and we have 3 additional hearings there. So it could be a long afternoon, so we're going to ask people to be succinct and brief in your comments. As you know, communication is more physical than it is verbal for many of us, so I can't see your hands. None of us can see you. So please be succinct and direct with your comments, either on the phone or online. Again, if everyone has their phone muted when you're not speaking, then we don't get all the background noise from all the other folks, which will become very distracting, I'm sure, in a hurry if we let that happen. So, having said that, I'm going to take the role of commissioners. So, and to see if,
Is that you on the line here?
no, this is not Tim Nelson. This is Don Fair. I'm the chair of the
I'm on
meeting.
the line.
Yeah.
This is Mike Weston. I don't know when I should be on, but I'm here.
We'll be following along the correct agenda, and we'll just ask people to mute their microphones until it's time for them to provide the comment.
When we get to your item, Mr. Larson, you'll hear us. We'll announce it. You are
For the agenda,
you are on the Board of Adjustment. You are the last item, number 7 on the Board of Adjustment. So it'll be a little while.
To the Cook County website, you can see on the main page the agendas, and you just click on that, and on the calendar date, you click on the Board of Adjustment for today, and that should take you right to the agenda and all the narrative.
Thank you.
Okay, I'm going to call a roll now of the commissioners to develop our quorum. Adam Treefel, are you present? Adam, you need to unmute to announce if you're present.
He was here earlier.
Okay, we're going to see if we can get back to Adam. Jerry Henniker. Judy Machenbacher.
Is that mute button on?
I don't know. Tim, are you there? They're not hearing me.
They can't, yeah,
Can you hear me now? Yeah, I think we had a mute button on our end. We muted, you need a mute and we don't, so technology. Okay, I'm going to start again here with calling a roll of commissioners that are present today. Adam Treefel,
Present.
Jerry Hineker,
Here.
Judy Machenbacher,
Here.
Charlie Laboda,
Here.
and I'm Don Fair here as well. I'm the chair. With me, Bill is in the courthouse holding the hearing. So we have a full slate of commissioners. All 5 are present today. So let's begin our first item. I got to shift myself. Okay. The first item on our agenda will be to approve the agenda, adopt this agenda, and approve the minutes of February 12th. Do I have a motion from someone? Please, when you make a motion or comment, the board members, give me your name and then a motion. Someone have a motion to approve the agenda and the minutes?
So moved.
Who was that?
Someone, Jerry Henker.
Okay, Jerry, it was moved by Jerry. Do we have a second?
Second, Charlie.
Okay.
Over.
Yep, we have the motion to approve the agenda and to adopt the agenda and approve the minutes has been made and seconded. All in favor of that motion signify by saying aye. I will call that roll again. Adam Treefel?
Aye.
Jerry Hineker?
Aye. Over.
Judy Machenbacher?
Aye.
Charlie Laboda?
Aye.
Okay.
Over.
And I am aye as well, so we have a unanimous decision to adopt that and approve the agenda. So, yes,
Mr. Chair, this is Tim Nelson.
yes.
I think what we have some people that have both the live stream and the conference call going at the same time. So I think they should probably just mute the live stream. If everybody could mute the live stream and see the picture, and then the meeting will take place over the conference call.
Yeah, we are getting feedback here.
Yeah, there's a lot of bouncing around. We hear a lot of noise coming through here, so we got a lot of lines some lines are open. So if we can please mute, unless you're going to speak, that would be helpful. Okay, I'm going to begin then with the first item, item A under new business of the Board of Adjustment. Michael and Tammy Holston request for a variance from the vegetation line setback to modify a cabin on property adjacent to Lake Superior. Legal description is Lot 2, Block 1 of Taylor Shores Plat. The parcel ID is 20-209-0020. Mr. Lane.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We do have some feedback, so the muting process should occur. We're getting a lot of reverb and everything, but we will proceed. Hopefully someone will turn their mute button on. Michael and Tammy Holston, this is case 2020-3V. Considerations: the Holstons purchased their property in 2018. It includes 2 modern habitable structures and a seasonal use rustic cabin constructed in the 1920s. That cabin includes 440 square feet, along with an attached 80 square foot entryway. See the assessor's sketch, which was in the packets that you received. As may be suggested, by its origins and supported by Land Services visit, the cabin currently exhibits significant structural depreciation. As evaluated, the Holston cabin is situated entirely within the meandering 40-foot vegetation line setback. Several other structures in the Taylor Shores Plat demonstrate a similar setback encroachment, suggesting the pre-ordinance genesis of several of those buildings. Nevertheless, no variance history was discovered within the plat. Proposed construction will include an expansion of the entryway and transition to a dining area, as well as construction of a new bedroom and bathroom mostly outside of the vegetation line. Enhancement of the foundation and new trusses will result in a moderate increase in the cabin's elevation and roof pitch. As proposed, expansion of the north and east cabin walls will result in approximately 352 additional square feet. Conversion of the existing entryway to a dining area will result in a 40 square foot expansion towards the western property line. Given apparent discrepancies between the depicted western property line as per photo documentation and proposed construction, the applicants reestablished that survey line as a construction reference. As a result, expansion of the cabin will not result in an additional encroachment of the side lot setback, and variance relief is sought only for construction within the vegetation line setback. With a prominent bedrock frontage, well-established vegetative layers, and an elevated landscape position, it is unlikely proposed construction will have an impact on water-based or terrestrial vistas. In Cook County, the repair and maintenance of a property's structural resources has regularly been demonstrated as a reasonable expectation of property ownership. Moreover, those repairs have consistently been supported by decisions from the Board of Adjustment. If approved, this variance may be assigned the following conditions. 1, property shall conform to Minnesota Rule 7080 and the Cook County Septic Ordinance. A septic inspection shall be necessary. 2, a land use permit shall be necessary prior to the initiation of deck construction. 3, construction must not deviate from plans approved by the Board of Adjustment at its April 22nd, 2020 hearing. 4, the applicants are reminded of their need to adhere to all components of the Taylor Shores declarations and covenants. 5, no vegetation shall be removed from the shore impact zone. 6, setback distances shall be verified by land services prior to the initiation of construction. We sent out 11 letters of notification. We received no comments, and we still need that mute suppressed.
Yeah, Bill, that's you. I'm listening closely. That's us reverbing back. I'm
Oh,
hearing you
okay.
on there, so
Okay.
we can't do much with that.
This technology,
Yeah,
Mr. Chair.
technology. Okay, thank you, Mr. Lane. Is the Holstons, or is someone on the line that would like to address this, and any further comments from the applicant?
The Holstons are here.
Okay, would you just give me your name and your address to start with, please?
My name is Tammy, my husband is Michael, and our address is 10441 Lansing Avenue North in Stillwater.
Very good, thank you.
55.
Okay, go ahead.
Oh, go ahead.
No, all right. Before I'm going to ask you for any additional comments. Before you do that, I'm going to back up just a moment for anyone who is not familiar with the hearing such as we're going to hold here and continue today. We'll begin just as we began this. I'll read a brief introduction. Staff will give a brief report. We'll ask the applicant for comments if they have any, and then I will open it up to public comments, which people can give hopefully rather brief comments to this, at which time then I will close the public hearing, and comments from the public will be closed, and we'll have conversation or discussion amongst the board to consider the application. There may be an occasion during discussion when a board member has a question of an applicant, and at that time, we may ask the applicant to address it. But other than that, we will close all of the public comment at that point. So then we'll ask people to please be sure you're muted so we can have a conversation to make a determination. Again, okay, sorry to have interrupted you, Ms. Holston. Do you have, you or your husband have things you'd like to add to the staff's report?
No, not really. I think Mr. Lane did a good job in writing it up.
Well, very good. If you don't have anything extra, anything additional, I'll open it up to the general public to give us their comments or thoughts. Is there anyone online who wishes to speak or address this particular permit or application? If you're online and wish to address this, please unmute your phone and let us know. I'm not hearing anyone. Anyone with comments for this item? Okay, hearing none, I'm going to close the public portion of this hearing at this time, and I'm going to turn to the commissioners for their comments. Typically, we just, commissioners, we open it up to comments, and because we're in a rather different situation that I can't see anyone here, I am going to kind of do the roll sort of thing as we've seen in the past, and ask each one, I'll go through to each person and ask you for comments if you have any. I will begin myself at this time because the last 2.5 days I've been on the road. I've visited each of the parcels we're going to talk about today. And I did visit this parcel, I don't know, Monday or Tuesday. And it's a unique site. It's a very historic and old cabin that they have there that they're trying to save, and I personally commend them for it. So I don't have any real issues. I don't think there's any detrimental things that happen because of this permit. So with that, I'll move on, and I'm going to ask, I'll go down the line here. Adam Trefel, do you have any comments or thoughts that you'd like to bring forward?
No comments or issues.
Thank you, Adam. Jerry Henniker.
Yeah, I just want to comment here. Looking at the photograph, it looks like the property line changes from what was originally being shown, and actually, even with the addition, we gained setback from what we had in the past. Is that correct?
Yes, Commissioner Henniker, the depiction from the county website doesn't accurately represent the property line. So what the Holstons did was they reestablished that survey line as part of the plat, and that's depicted as the red line in that the visual display that I included in the packet.
Right.
So they do have more side lot setback than would be construed if you looked at that originally.
Okay, well, that's an interesting situation, and I'm pleased to see that. And it just adds to the fact that I think that what's been done here is sensible, and I certainly take no issue with it. I think it's a good solution to another one of our challenging problems. Over.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Henniker. Judy Machenbacher.
I too visited the site, and it's a very interesting and nice place to be. I spoke with Bill Lane this morning, and I think I got most of my questions clarified. One thing I would like to do, if possible, is once this variance is added, a new owner could come in and decide they wanted 3,000 square feet, and if there's enough room to accommodate that. That's not the intent of the variance. I would like to see that this be granted contingent on the fact that further additions to the cabin are prohibited. And I think our goal is to make everything conform as much as possible, and I think this probably would be a good way to do it. Over.
Thank you, Commissioner Machenbacher. Charlie Laboda, do you have comments?
Yeah, no real comment at this point. I don't have any issues with the application.
Very good, thank you. Commissioner Machenbacher, I'm not certain how we would, excuse me, Mr. Lane will address this.
And Judy, and this is something that we touched on with our phone conversation earlier, and actually a variance condition restricting variances is probably not a path that we would want. What we would do is assume that any future variances would be met with all the scrutiny and criteria necessary to get an approval today, and that if that were to, be replaced by a 4,000 square foot cabin or anything like that, that there would be some discretionary ability from future boards of adjustment to address that. So I don't think that would be a necessary component, we would rely on common sense rather than a condition.
If I may,
Okay.
if I may, just add to that, my understanding, make sure that I understand what we're saying. If we approve this, this application, it is for the structure that they're applying for. Any additional or larger structure in the future would require them to come back here for another approval, and at that time, we could decide to or not to allow it. But to be able to, yeah. Go ahead.
I'm not certain that's the case. I think once this variance is granted, it's there, and if they stay within the setbacks, they just come in and get a building permit to attach anything to this house. So next year they could decide to put a second story on. The variance is in place. Is that correct, Bill?
Yeah, well, actually, yes, it is. If it isn't in the variance realm, then whatever they do permit-wise is within their administrative rights as property owners. We can't intervene in that. We would defer to the ordinance. So yes, they could do that, but then you're getting into things like the driveway and other infrastructure that may compromise any ability to expand. And maybe the Holstons could even themselves comment on what the long-term plans might be.
Mr. Holston, are you able to give?
Yes.
Sure. Want to give us your thoughts?
So our goal is that this would be more of a legacy property in our family. So right now, we like the historic value of what's there, and we're hoping to keep it to be a cute little cabin. And we're hoping to have it for long term.
Very good, thank you.
And we are not planning on any other additions, ever.
Well, and you never know how long forever is. That's the problem.
Right,
You know, next year circumstances could change and there could be a whole new owner. And they may have grandiose ideas about a big second story and addition to the back. That's just my concern, and you know, I don't question what your intent is, but this is enlarging the non-conforming use of the property, and it's just one step to further adding to the non-conformity. That's my concern.
All right, thank you, Ms. Holstein and Commissioner. If I understand, Mr. Lane, the situation is that we're probably not in a position to be able to say you can't do something in the future without the future application being there. I understand your
Yeah.
concern, Judy, but I don't know how to get around it.
Were it a use, we could.
Yeah.
This is an area issue.
So I'm just looking to see if there's something I thought we could do with a condition there, Judy, but I don't know how we would do that, so,
Right.
yeah.
Well, that's one of the things to consider when you're granting an additional 400 feet of nonconformity. Is that in the best interest of the property and the community? Which is what we're there to look at.
Yes, I do agree with you, Judy. I'll just tell you my thought on this particular property, and I would hope that what you're alluding that could happen in the future never does happen, because it's just a beautiful little historic cabin, as you probably saw yourself, if they're able to, you know. Hopefully they can restore this and keep it as is, but in order to be able to do that, I guess they need a permit from us. And that does open things up to the future. Yeah. Go ahead.
That does, you know, if you're going to, you know, to the point of variances, if you aim to make the property conform as best you can to the current zoning, they're raising the cabin up 2 to 3 feet and putting it on a new foundation. If they scooted it back, it could come into conformity, put it on a new foundation within the conformity of the zoning. And I understand why they want it here. That bedroom could be put back into the, where it doesn't need a variance. And I'm not gonna be a stickler about it, but that's the reality. So we're making an exception, and we're gonna be haunted with it with other cases that come down the road.
Yeah, thank you. I understand what you're saying. And that is a potential solution, I suppose, is to move the cabin back and make it conforming in that manner. That could be done. It's quite a bit of a different project than what they're proposing, but that is a possibility.
Correct.
Anyone else, any other commissioners have a comment or thought? Anyone have a motion?
Mr. Chair, Jerry Henniker, I make the motion to approve the variance as printed with the conditions that are put there.
Thank you, Commissioner Henniker. We have a motion then on the table. Do I have a second to the motion?
Charlie Laboda, I second the motion. Over.
Thank you, Commissioner Laboda. So we have a motion to approve as presented to us with the 6 conditions that are in the application. Any further discussion from the commissioners? Hearing none, then we'll call for a vote. And again, I will do this by a roll call. Adam Trefel?
Yes, aye to approve it.
Thank you. Commissioner Henniker, it was your motion, so I think you are going to approve.
I do aye. Over.
Thank you. Commissioner Machenbacher?
Aye.
Commissioner Laboda?
Aye. Over.
And I will vote aye myself. So we have the application is passed. If this is, let's see, Board of Adjustment, I can remember which way. We're going in reverse order. We're doing Board of Adjustment first today. So we do need to run through a little list. Are we done, Mr. Lane? Want to run through that list, or is that only for
The
rejections?
checklist.
Yeah,
I think with a unanimous vote.
with the unanimous
that
vote, we were thinking.
there wouldn't be any challenge to
All right,
this.
very good. Well, then I'm not going to take the time to go through each of the 6 items. Very good. Then it has passed, and we will move on to the next item. Number 2 on this agenda is Rolf Mark requests for a variance from the shoreline setback to construct a new cabin on property adjacent to Devil Track Lake. Legal description is Lot 5, Block 1, Junco Creek Plat, PID 52-251-0050. Mr. Lane.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This is case 2020-7V. The parcel has been in the Mork family since 1989. The property includes 9.97 acres with approximately 159 feet of frontage on Devil Track Lake. The parcel is part of Junco Creek, a 1987 state plat converting leased lots into private ownership. Parcel is entirely contained within the Lakeshore Residential LSR Zone District, and Devil Track Lake is recognized as a recreational development, or RD lake. Considerations. This variance request is for the tear down of an existing seasonal cabin and replacement with a year-round retirement residence. The current Mork cabin was constructed in 1964 and exhibits significant structural depreciation. Cabin is situated 57 feet from the Devil Track Lake OHW on a parcel with moderate slopes towards the water and shallow topography further inland. Because this request includes new construction, guidance for variance setback relief was derived from sections 7.12C of the Cook County zoning ordinance, which is shoreline setback averaging, or SSA. As a refresher, SSA involves the quantification of structural setbacks based on comparison to adjacent properties. Evaluation occurs within double the compliant lot width which in the case of the Mork LSR parcel would be 300 feet, or 2 by 150 feet, which is a compliant lot width in the LSR zone district. In the case of the Berge Boulevard residential landscape, our calculations included 2 SSA runs, one including a Junco Creek platted structure built 163 feet from the water due to wetland constraints, and one removing that parcel to more accurately reflect actual setback distances and neighborhood ambiance within the residential mosaic. When included, the outlier parcel produced an SSA of 83 feet, which would produce a setback of 16.6 feet, the greater of 10 feet or 20% of the average distance, placing new construction at 99.6 feet and effectively making a variance unnecessary. When excluded, the SSA is reduced to 67 feet, and upon adjustment, greater of 10 feet or 20%, the setback distance is adjusted to 80.4 feet. Our findings were presented to Mr. Mork, and he has agreed to move forward with construction at 80 feet from the Devil Track OHW with a 10-foot allowance for a lake-facing deck. While this represents a change in his plans, construction originally included a walkout basement, we would suggest it is a reasonable compromise for proposed construction. The applicants have identified a 1,635 square foot year-round residence distributed over 2 floors. Decking is a component of the rebuild with an area coverage of 275 square feet. Proposed construction represents a nearly 3-fold increase in the parcel's structural footprint, but does not deviate markedly from several adjacent Berge Boulevard residences. Septic upgrades will be a necessary inclusion on the parcel. If approved, the following conditions may be applied to this variance. 1, no component of construction, including decks, shall be closer than 70 feet from the Devil Track Lake ordinary high water elevation. 2, no structural elevation shall exceed 28 feet. 3, construction may not deviate from plans approved by the Board of Adjustment at its April 22nd, 2020 meeting. 4, the property shall conform to Minnesota Rule 7080 in the Cook County Septic Ordinance as directed by the Cook County Environmental Health Inspector. 5, no construction may be initiated until all necessary permit applications have been submitted to and approved to Land Services. 6, a gutter or catchment system or vegetation conducive to water uptake shall be incorporated into new or existing construction to divert rainwater and snowmelt runoff away from the Devil Track Lake shoreline. And 7, setback distances shall be verified by Land Services. We sent out 10 letters of notification and received several phone inquiries, but no comments in favor or opposition to the Mork request.
Thank you, Mr. Lane. Is Mr. Mork or someone representing the Morks online? Anyone here representing the Mork property? Well, I'm going to then open this up to the public. Anyone else who is online here able to, that wishes to make a comment regarding this particular parcel, this application, please do so now.
Yes, I am here.
Oh, Mr. Mork?
Yeah.
Yes, okay. Anything you'd like to add to what Bill has said?
So Amy and I would just want to, thank Mr. Lane and the Board of Adjustment for their consideration.
Anyone else who is online here able to,
Yeah, we'll drag. Mr. Mork, are you still there?
I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yes, I hear you fine. Go ahead.
No, I just want to say thank you to Mr. Lane and to the Board of Adjustment for their consideration. And we are looking forward to building this for our retirement home. So thank you for everything so far.
All right, very good. Thank you. Anyone else from the public here that's listening wish to comment on this item or this application, please do so now. Anyone who wishes to comment on the Mork application, now is your opportunity. Okay, hearing none, I'm going to close the public portion of this hearing and again move to commissioners for thoughts or comments. And I'll just go the opposite of we did a moment ago. I'll start with Charlie Laboda. Commissioner Laboda, any thoughts or comments regarding this property?
I think it appears the applicant has demonstrated an appropriate acknowledgement of the setback and made modifications suggested by Land Services. That being said, I don't see any issue with this application. Over.
Yeah. Very good. Thank you, Commissioner Laboda. Commissioner Machenbacher.
It seems like a reasonable request.
Thank you. Commissioner Henniker?
And, you know, it looks like, while reading the narrative and the comments, it appears that there was a tremendous amount of cooperation between the owner and staff. Came up with an amicable solution. Everybody should be happy. Yeah, absolutely. I support this.
Very good. Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Trefel.
Yeah, I support it with the 7 conditions that Land Services have listed, so I have no problems.
Very good. Well, I'm going to support it as well. And while I have you on the line, Adam, why don't we look for a motion then for this item?
I motion to approve with the 7 conditions listed.
Very good. We have a motion from Commissioner Trefel to approve this application with the 7 listed conditions. Do I have a second to that motion?
Mr. Chairman, Jerry Henniker, second that motion.
Very good. Thank you, Commissioner. Further discussion from the commissioners. Anyone have any further comments on this parcel, or this application? Okay, hearing none, then I'm going to call for a vote and begin with Charlie Laboda.
Charlie Laboda, I am in favor. Over.
Thank you, Charlie. I move to Commissioner Machenbacher.
Aye.
Thank you. Jerry Henniker.
Aye, over.
Thank you. And Commissioner Trefel.
Aye, over.
And I also vote aye, so we have once more unanimous motion. So we'll move on to the third item on our agenda for the Board of Adjustment, which is Covenant Pines Bible Camp, doing business as Adventurous Christians. Request for a variance from the shoreline setback to replace a fire-destroyed structure on property adjacent to Bow Lake. Legal description is part of the east half of the northwest corner and the east 100 feet of the north 1,700 feet of the west one half of the northwest quarter, Section 15, Township 64 North, Range 1 West. PID is 52-415-3130. Mr. Lane.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This is case 2020-6V. The property has been under Covenant Pines and Adventurous Christians ownership since 1972. It includes 40 acres with approximately 330 feet of frontage on Bow Lake. The office sauna structure was built in 2000 under a variance allowance to construct within 150 feet of Bow Lake. Bow Lake is categorized as a natural environment lake and includes 150-foot structural and septic treatment area setbacks. Parcel is entirely contained within the Resort Commercial Residential, or RCR, zone district. Considerations: on June 23, 2019, the office sauna structure at the Adventurous Christians Camp on Bow Lake was destroyed by fire. The loss occurred during the peak recreational season at the camp, leaving participants without what is arguably a true Northwoods experience, a sauna, then a plunge in a boreal forest lake at a wilderness camp. Following the loss, Land Services worked with the camp to facilitate approval of an IUP allowing the temporary use of a portable sauna facility for the remainder of the 2019 recreational season. Concurrently, AC engaged in discussions to rebuild the lost structure, doing so with the intent of using as much of the original foundation as possible. Since then, a final plan has taken shape. As proposed, AC has opted to separate the two facilities, placing a standalone 672 square foot structure at 98 feet from Bow Lake ordinary high water elevation. And that's a 2-foot allowance for a roof overhang on that shoreline setback. The sauna building will be set back approximately 30 feet from the front of the office and will comprise a 16 by 18 foot envelope or 288 square feet. Pressurized water delivery will not be a component of either structure. The Adventurous Christians have had a positive presence in Cook County for over half a century. The burden of loss by fire has proven to be a speed bump to continuous camp operations, but the reasonability of their request should lessen the concerns of overbuild or disruption of a protected and shared Bow Lake resource. If approved, the following conditions may be attached to this variance. 1, no construction may begin until all permits have been approved by Land Services. 2, the property shall comply with Minnesota Rule 7080 and the Cook County Septic Ordinance. 3, pressurized water delivery shall not be provided to the sauna facility without approval of the Cook County Environmental Health Inspector. 4, construction of the office building may not be closer than 98 feet from the Bow Lake shoreline. And 5, construction may not exceed 672 square feet for the office. The sauna footprint may not exceed 288 square feet. Those are vertical wall dimensions. We sent out 24 letters of notification and we received no comments on this request.
Thank you, Mr. Lane. Is there someone on the line to represent Covenant Pines Bible Camp?
Yes, this is Matt White, the director of Adventurous Christian, and my address is 81 Bow Lake Road.
Very good. Would you like to add any comments beyond what Bill has just read?
No, I mean, I'm happy to answer any questions or illuminate anything that people would like, but just thanks for considering it. About all I have to say on my own.
Very good, thank you. Then I'm going to open this hearing up to the public for any public comments. Anyone who is online with us that wishes to address this particular issue, the Covenant Pines Bible Camp issue, please do so now. Anyone that wishes to address the Covenant Pines Bible Camp application, now is your opportunity. Hearing none, then I'm going to close the public portion of this hearing and again turn to commissioners for comments. I'll begin again this time because I did stop there yesterday. It's a little hilly, a little wet, and a little muddy back in there right now, but I did visit the site yesterday, and I have no issues with it. It looks like they're trying, as we just talked about another parcel, trying very hard to work with us and with the system and with staff. So I have no issues with this property, but we'll turn to the rest of the commissioners and see what thoughts you have. Commissioner Treefel.
Yeah, I have no issues with it. I think it's great that they're working with Land Services.
Very good, thank you. Commissioner Henniker.
I find nothing to take issue with. It looks like a sound proposal to me. Go from there.
Very good, thank you. Commissioner Machenbacher.
I think it's a reasonable request.
Thank you. Commissioner Laboda.
I agree. It seems very reasonable. Over.
Very good, thank you. I would then entertain a motion.
This is Commissioner Laboda. I motion to approve with the 5 conditions as stated. Over.
Thank you, Commissioner. Thank you. Commissioner Machenbacher?
Second.
Second. All right, we have a motion and a second. to approve the Covenant Pines application. Further discussion? Any further discussion from the commissioners? Okay, hearing none, we're going to call for a vote. Commissioner Laborda.
Aye. Over.
Commissioner Machenbacher.
Aye.
Commissioner Henniker.
Aye. Over.
Commissioner Triefel.
Aye. Over.
Thank you all, and I will also vote in the affirmative, so we have a unanimous decision then for Covenant Pines as well. Thank you, folks. Okay, we're going to move on to our fourth item for the Board of Adjustment is the Coldwater Foundation doing business as Mink Lake Camp. Request for a variance from the shoreline setback to construct a structure on property adjacent to Mink Lake. The legal description is part of the southwest quarter of the northeast quarter of Section 8, Township 62 North, Range 2 East, PID number 54-208-1130. Mr. Lane.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This is case 2020-5V. Property is leased to the Coldwater Foundation by the U.S. Forest Service and has been since 2015. The leased parcel includes 7.57 acres. Mink Lake is a natural environment lake and includes 150-foot structural and septic treatment area setbacks. Mink Lake Camp is contained within the Resort Commercial Residential Zone District in a zoning landscape that includes both lakeshore residential and forest agriculture, FAR 2. Considerations. In June of 2015, the Coldwater Foundation became the operators of the Mink Lake Camp, a 7.5-acre leased recreational facility on the northern shore of Mink Lake. The camp was originally positioned on Elbow Lake, but was moved to Mink Lake in 1938, where it thereafter became known as the Mink Lake Bible Camp. Then as now, the camp focuses on a wilderness experience with both external and internal challenges for its participants. Although the parcel is under federal ownership, the special use permit assigned by the Forest Service to the Coldwater Foundation is instructional. Specifically, that permit agreement states, in exercising the privileges granted by this permit, the holder shall comply with all present and future federal laws and regulation and all present and future state, county, and municipal laws, regulations, and other legal requirements that apply to the permit area to the extent they do not conflict with federal law, regulation, or policy. The Forest Service assumes no responsibility for enforcing laws, regulations, and other legal requirements that fall under the jurisdiction of other governmental entities. The suggestion here being federal ownership, compliance with county ordinances. That said, Coldwater approached Land Services in late 2019 with a plan to expand culinary resources at the camp. Specifically, they are proposing construction of a 16-foot by 16-foot, 256 square feet timber frame structure, along with an additional 48 square foot dedicated to a pizza oven and 24 square feet for additional storage. The proposed structure will be situated adjacent to existing kitchen and lodge facilities. Mink Lake is a natural environment lake, and with that designation comes 150-foot structural and septic treatment setbacks. Coldwater places new construction at approximately 120 feet from the Mink Lake ordinary high water elevation. Given existing construction and the intent to build new facilities at or further inland than the lodge, this request demonstrates a reasonable expansion of the camp's facilities. Moreover, its involvement with the county is within prescribed actions of federal ownership. If approved, the following conditions may be attached to this variance. No construction may begin until all necessary permits are approved by Land Services. 2, the property shall conform to Minnesota Rules 7080 and the Cook County Septic Ordinance under the direction of the Cook County Environmental Health Inspector. You received a septic memo with this packet. 3, construction shall not exceed 324 feet for the timber frame structure based on 16 by 16 framed perimeter and 2-foot overhangs. 4, construction may not occur closer than 120 feet from the Mink Lake ordinary high water elevation based upon drip line measurements. 5, no vegetation shall be removed from within the shoreline impact zone. We sent out 4 letters of notification and received no comments.
Thank you, Mr. Lane. Is there someone from the Coldwater Foundation here to address this?
Yes, this is Kevin Sutton, I'm here.
Kevin Sutton. And what's your address, Kevin?
Address 1 West 3rd Street, Ramaray.
Thank you. Anything you'd like to add to Bill's comments?
No, thank you, Bill, for that narrative and for walking us through the process and in agreement with the considerations articulated.
Very good, thank you. Is there anyone else listening who wants to comment on the Coldwater Foundation application? Anyone else that wishes to make a comment regarding this application? Well, hearing none, I'm going to close the public hearing portion of the meeting and turn to commissioners again to for their comments or thoughts. Commissioner Treefel.
I have no questions. It seems pretty straightforward and reasonable.
Very good, thank you. Commissioner Henniker?
Yeah, this is a venerable operation in the county for a long time. Pleased to see that. But the thing that really sealed it, says it's a permit I can't deny, is the space for a pizza oven. That's the most important thing a person can have out there. Other than that, I have no issues with anything else.
Yeah, very good, thank you. I'm sure many campers will agree with you. Commissioner Machenbacher.
I have a question. I think Bill said 120 feet from Mink Lake, and on the conditions it's 100 feet. So.
Yeah, there is a little, I understand what you're saying, I believe, Commissioner, there is a 120 versus 100 feet in the permit, and we are dealing with 100 feet.
And let me just clarify that the measurement of 120 feet was based on the representation from Mr. Sutton and the Mink Lake Camp. We used a GPS digital measuring device, and so our distances came out a little different than what the camp had depicted. So the 120 feet was their suggested setback, and when we came into determining setbacks for the adjacent kitchen and lodge facility, 100 feet was a more reasonable approximation of where that setback will occur. It also gives them a little more wiggle room as far as logistically setting it in proximity to the kitchen and lodge. So you're right, it's a discrepancy, and just having read that, I understand where I could have been a little more clear in presenting that.
Okay, thank you.
So this permit is for 100 feet.
Yes.
Very good. Let's see, where did we leave off? Mr. Lavoda.
Given that clarification that just took place, I've got no concerns with this.
Very good. I did visit the property yesterday, I believe, and I have no concerns either. It's so we'd entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, Chair Henniker, since that's in my backyard, basically, I will make the motion with the conditions attached.
Very good, thank you. Oh, go ahead. Did I cut you off there, Jerry? Do you have something else?
I'm sorry?
I'm sorry, I thought I cut you off. Did you have some other comment?
No.
All right.
This is Commissioner Lavoda, I would second that motion.
All right, we have a motion and a second to approve the application. Any further comments or questions from the committee or from the commission? Hearing none, then I will call for a vote. Commissioner Triefel. Commissioner Triefel, are you there?
Yeah, I approve it.
Very good, thank you. Commissioner Henniker?
Aye. Over.
Commissioner Machenbacher?
Aye. Over.
Commissioner Laboda?
Aye. Over.
And I will myself vote aye as well. So we again have 5 in favor of the motion, so that variance is passed. We will now move on to the,
Could I
Excuse
interrupt?
me.
Could I just take
Mr. Lane.
a couple minutes? I have
Yeah.
to, I'll be right back.
okay, we're going to take about a 5-minute break, folks. How's that? I got about 5 minutes to 2. We're going to take about a 5-minute break, and we'll be back here in 5 minutes.
Oh, thank you for that.
Is it going better than I expected, actually? Okay. All right, we're going to resume this meeting, and I have to pick up where I am here. We are on the Philia. I met this gentleman yesterday, and I'm not going to get his name right today. Philia. Luther Philia, request for an after-the-fact variance to retain construction within the vegetation line setback on property adjacent to Lake Superior. The legal description is part of Government Law 3, Section 25, Township 61 North, Range 1 West, PID 52-125-2495. Mr. Lane.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This is case 2020-4B. The applicant purchased this 1.94 acre parcel in December 2019. Property includes approximately 105 feet of Lake Superior frontage and is located entirely within the single-family residential zone district. Lake Superior is categorized as a general development lake. Structural setbacks on Lake Superior are 40 feet from the vegetation line. Considerations. The applicant purchased this property in 2019. At the time of purchase, a year-round residence comprising over 3,000 square feet of internal living space and decks was in place. As part of an inquiry for future garage construction, Land Services identified several events under previous ownership that influenced the current residential footprint. The first was a variance in 1993, allowing an addition to the existing residence, and the second was the catastrophic loss of that structure by fire in 2008. Following the fire, the previous owners, the Ambersons, rebuilt the residence, doing so through guidance provided by Section 9.02 of the Cook County zoning ordinance. During the rebuild, the vertical and horizontal footprints, elevation, deck interface were expanded but were not accommodated by necessary Board of Adjustment approval for construction within the Lake Superior vegetation line setback. Instead, construction was allowed through an administrative land use permit without additional variance relief. Given our discovery of structural, permitting, and variance discrepancies, Land Services directed the new owner to apply for an after-the-fact variance process with a focus on bringing the property into compliance with applicable zoning requirements. The applicant's involvement in this process demonstrates his desire to see this matter to rest. As has been demonstrated throughout the last decade, situations suggestive of a planning and zoning or Land Services misrepresentation or the lack of attention to detail is a frustrating component of present-day regulatory life. Perhaps the Amberson permit was lost in the shuffle with over 180 LUPs submitted after the Ham Lake fire. Perhaps it was an innocent mistake. The bottom line is the creation of retroactive chagrin can be frustrating. And now, moving forward, Land Services appreciates the applicant's willingness to resolve this long-standing issue and invariably move into a seamless future as a property owner in Cook County. Both the request and the solution should be viewed as a reasonable closure for the property. If approved, the following conditions may be applied to this variance. 1, no after-the-fact fees shall be assigned to this variance. 2, no additional structural expansion of the deck or residence within the vegetation line may occur without approval of the Cook County Board of Adjustment. And 3, the property shall comply with Minnesota Rule 7080 in the Cook County Septic Ordinance. We sent out 17 letters of notification. We received several phone inquiries, but no comments of support or opposition for this request.
Thank you, Mr. Lane. Is Mr. Filia or someone representing the property here today, or on the line today?
Mr. Chair, Tyson Smith, attorney for Mr. Filia.
Yes.
1710 West Highway 51.
Thank you. You like to add anything to the commentary here?
Briefly, yes. Mr. Lane and I had a healthy debate over whether or not variance relief was appropriate in this case, and obviously because I'm here before you today, he came out on top. I still think that because Land Service issued a permit for reconstruction on the existing foundation, this is not a good use of the variance process, but nonetheless, the applicant certainly would like to be able to keep his house where it is and just wants no more issues. When I look at one of these requests from the point of view of the applicant, my analysis is always based on 2 things. What are their practical difficulties they're suffering? 2, what does the rest of the neighborhood look like? The Rosebush area is one of those parts of the county that predates the ordinance where the ordinance just doesn't fit. And in this case, the practical difficulties suffered and the character and the locality are basically the same thing. As I look at the GIS map, I think I count 9 houses all in a row that are either on the ledrock or within just a few feet of it. And the difficulty as a property owner is, well, if your neighbors are built on the water and you're building at the setback, you're looking into your neighbor's back windows in order to see the lake. And For a lot of reasons, that's just not fair, so I would assert that the practical difficulties here justifying an after-the-fact request are the adjacent structures placement and the fact that this neighborhood's been this way for the better part of 60 years and the ordinance came in afterwards. It's difficult to make it conform, but some of these neighborhoods are just this way. And with that, I'll cede my time. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Smith. Anyone else listening that wishes to comment on this particular application, please do so now. Anyone that wants to speak to the Luther Filia application, now's your opportunity. Okay, hearing none, I'm going to close the public portion of this hearing and turn to the commissioners for thoughts or comments. Commissioner Laboda.
I see no issue with this. Definitely appreciate the applicant's willingness to resolve the issue. Over.
Very good, thank you. Commissioner Machenbacher. Commissioner Machenbacher, are you there? I'll come back to Judy in just a minute. Commissioner Henniker.
I think it's a good time to close the books on one of those mysterious events that wasn't recorded for whatever reason. Bring it into conformity and let's get it done with and move to the future. Over.
Good. Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Treefel.
I'm all for this. I agree with exactly what Jerry just said. No issues here.
Very good, thank you. Commissioner Machenbacher.
Seems appropriate.
Very good, thank you. I also I visited the property and spoke to the owner, and it seems like a reasonable resolution of a problem here. So with that, I will ask for a motion.
Mr. Chair, Jerry, so moved. Over.
All right, we have a motion from Commissioner Henniker to move this variance request forward with the 3 conditions that are noted. Do we have a second to that?
I'll second.
All right, and we have a second from Commissioner Machenbacher. Further discussion? Any further discussion from the commissioners? Okay, hearing none, then I'll call for a vote. Commissioner Laboda.
Aye. Over.
Commissioner Machenbacher.
Aye.
Commissioner Henniker.
Aye. Over.
Commissioner Treefel.
Aye. Over.
And I will vote aye as well. So we have, once again, 5 in favor of this variance. So it passes again. So we now will move to the Michael and Jana Larson request for variances within the shoreline and road setbacks to modify a structure on property adjacent to Caribou Lake and Peninsula Point Road. The legal description is all of lots 32 and 33, and that portion of Lot 34, the rearrangements of Government Lot 3, Section 35, Township 61 North, Range 3 West, and Government Lots 3, 4, and 5 of Section 1, Township 60 North, Range 3 West, and Government Lot 2, Section 2, Township 60 North, Range 3 West. PID number is 27-145-0320. Mr. Lane.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This is case 2020-9V. The applicants purchased the property in 1989. Parcel includes .81 acres and approximately 285 feet of Caribou Lake shoreline. Property is contained within the Lakeshore Residential or LSR Zone District. Caribou Lake is designated as a recreational development or RD lake. RD lakes include 100-foot structural and 100-foot septic absorption area setbacks. Considerations. Property supports a 1,296,000 square foot residence, surrounded on 3 sides by a 750 square foot deck. The residence was constructed in 1962 and was recently assigned a 20% depreciation value by the Cook County's Assessor's Office. Property also supports a small guest cottage, a sauna, and garage. The residential landscape along the upper portion of Peninsula Point Trail was mostly created by early platting, and specifically the rearrangement of Government Lot 3, which was enclosed in your packet, which established 79 residential and resort-based properties in 1925, each 100 feet in width with a total area of around 1 acre. The Larson property comprises 2.5 of those originally platted lots. Given the geologic bottleneck in proximity to County Road 38 and Caribou Lake, it is a safe assumption that no structural improvements could be enacted on the Larson parcel without the involvement of the Board of Adjustment. As suggested, the parcel is narrow and bordered by both water and Peninsula Point Trail. Another restrictive feature is a prominent ridge situated along the southwest perimeter of the property and supporting the parcel's septic treatment area. Given build-out restrictions, the Larsons have ostensibly built from within, foregoing exterior expansions and/or structural modifications. A better sense of the design of the structure might be gleaned with knowledge the Larson's residence formerly housed the Portage Resort, including a commercial store, laundry facilities, and office space. As described by the applicants, the structure they purchased in 1989 seemed busy with several odd ways to enter and exit the home. Working with the canvas provided resulted in a multi-level year-round residence for the applicants. The current property layout includes a nearest structural approach to the eastern aligned deck to Caribou Lake of 38 feet. The close proximity to the water is typical of the immediate residential landscape as well, with 7 properties exhibiting an average OHW setback of 32 feet. Moving forward, the applicants are proposing a reconfiguration of deck space along the eastern shoreline while keeping the setback distance at or greater than the current 38 feet. In addition, they will be enhancing the north-facing deck and creating a narrow second-story walkway, again facing the eastern lakefront. The road-facing entryway will eventually support a covered portico. Overall, the Larson request represents a shifting of structural coverage from a series of non-contiguous decks to a singular uniform deck presence. To get there, nearly 984 square feet of existing surface area distributed over 4 locations will be removed and replaced with one contiguous lake-facing deck comprising approximately 1,200 square feet. In any restricted residential landscape, being more efficient with structural design is more effective than being more obvious. The Larsons have 31 years on the property and finally have an opportunity to craft their residence to their own intent. This is a reasonable request and not injurious to the neighborhood landscape or the residential aesthetic. If approved, following conditions may be applied to this variance. 1, the property shall conform to Minnesota Rule 7080 and the Cook County Septic Ordinance. A septic inspection shall be necessary prior to construction. 2, no construction may be initiated until all necessary permit applications have been submitted to and approved by Land Services. 3, deck coverage on the property shall not exceed 1,200 square feet. 4, no component of new construction shall be closer than 38 feet from the OHW of Caribou Lake. 5, no vegetation shall be removed from the shore impact zone. And 6, gutters and/or a catchment system or vegetation conducive to water uptake shall be incorporated into new or existing construction. We sent out 29 letters of notification. We received 1 letter expressing no opposition to the Larson request from the Caribou Lake Property Owners Association.
Thank you, Mr. Lane. Mr. Larson, are you still there?
I am present.
Yes, would you like to add anything to Bill's narrative? Any comments you have?
Mr.
only the fact that Elaine has been on the property. We started this process nearly a year ago. You've done a good job articulating our request, and I thank you for your consideration.
Thank you. Anyone else online that wishes to address this application? Now is your opportunity. Anyone wish to address the Larson application? Anyone for the Larson application, please? Any comments? Okay, hearing none, then I will close the public portion of this hearing, and I'm going to turn again to the commissioners for their thoughts. I will just say that I did visit the property yesterday before I begin with the commissioners, and agree with everything that Bill has read. It's a rather unique, I guess, the way we some years back plotted out lots that are very small and very tight, and this property is squeezed on all sides, and it appears to me that they're doing a very reasonable effort to make their property more livable and more enjoyable, while reducing probably, I think, their impact on the lake by pulling the deck back away from that lake. So with that, I'm going to, I'll turn to commissioners. Commissioner Treefel. Commissioner Treefel, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Yep.
I think it's reasonable, and I don't see any negative impacts this would cause. It would be more positive than what was there.
Very,
That's all I have to say.
very good, thank you. Commissioner Henniker.
Anybody familiar with that particular point, that narrow spot on the peninsula, recognizes that going from the kitchen to the dining room table requires a variance. This is a reasonable adjustment. I think it's going to make the property better. I think it's going to make it actually fit within everything better. It makes more sense. I'm fully in support of this one. Over.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Maschenbacher.
I'm familiar with the property and agree that it's a good improvement and very reasonable.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Laborda.
I agree with his views. I have no problem with it. Over.
Very good. If anyone would like to make a motion to this application?
This is Commissioner Laborda. I would motion to approve with the 6 conditions as written.
Thank you, Commissioner. We have a motion to...
Commissioner Henniker?
Yes, go ahead.
Commissioner Henniker, I second the motion. Over.
Very good. We have the motion's been made by Commissioner Laborda, seconded by Commissioner Henniker. Any further discussion on the Larson parcel? Any further discussion from the commissioners? Okay, hearing none, then I'll call for a vote. Commissioner Treefel.
Aye.
Commissioner Henniker.
Aye. Over.
Commissioner Maschenbacher.
Aye.
Commissioner Laborda.
Aye. Over.
Very good, and I myself I'll vote in the affirmative as well, so we have 5 in favor again. So thank you all. This variance is passed. We're going to move on to our last one for the Board of Adjustment. Is Jerry and Mary Hanson have a request for variances from the property line setback to construct a residence from the minimum lot size requirement in the RCR zone district as a prelude to merging of 2 parcels. The legal description is lots 2 and 3, block 3, Superior National Golf Properties at Lutzen, CIC number 22. Mr. Lane.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This is case 2020-8V. The applicants purchased 4 parcels in the Superior National Golf Properties plat in 2018. 3 of the parcels are contiguous, while the third is downslope within the upper parcel's view shed. The applicants purchased 4 residential parcels in the plat in 2018. I've already said that. Their intent is to construct a new residence in an area broaching 2 separate parcels established by a single property boundary. Considerations. The Superior National Golf Properties PUD includes 61.96 acres and 41 lots, 37 of which are single-family parcels and 2 intended for fourplex residential units. The PUD was created as an open space common interest community, number 22, and has the requisite 50% of its land dedicated to open space. Setbacks in the PUD are identified as 0 feet on the rear property line or on property lines abutting open space and 15 feet for side lot lines. Septic treatment on the PUD is regulated by a license from the state of Minnesota, SDS permit MN 0065561. The PUD is contained entirely within the resort commercial residential zone district. Following their 2018 purchase of 4 properties, the Hansons discussed several options for build-out with Land Services. In response, Land Services identified 2 variables that could influence the direction of their build-out: county constraints and internal constraints. And I enclosed the September 2019 letter, which elucidates that conversation with the Hansons. County constraints would include ordinance-defined resource or property setbacks and other issues specific to the RCR zone district. Internal constraints would be those directly connected to PUD-derived modifications, that is, setback reductions, reduced lot sizes, etc. For county constraints, variance relief is a prescribed remedy. Internal constraints, however, require both internal PUD scrutiny and approval, including committees, surveys, homeowners associations, concurrence, and in the case of boundary changes or plat revisions, county approval must also be included in the process. Given a relatively expeditious variance process versus a more indulgent PUD process, variance relief was viewed as the resource most facilitative to the Hansons' construction timeframe. As proposed, their intent is to build within lots 2 and 3, with the eastern and northernmost wings of the residence broaching the lot 2 and 3 boundary. Variance relief under single ownership will still be necessary until such time that the lots are combined or otherwise modified. To that end, variance relief from the compliant RCR lot size is also included for what has been identified as an intent to eventually combine lots 2 and 3. The minimum lot size in the RCR zone district is 5 acres. These come in considerably less than that, hence the variance. If approved, the following conditions may be applied to this variance. 1, this variance allows only those property line encroachments between lots 2 and 3 identified in the proposed site layout figure, which was part of your packet. 2, no additional property boundary modifications or property line encroachments may occur. 3, the property owner shall be responsible for all internal corrections to the PUD, plat, and declarations and covenants, including presentation to the Cook County Board of Commissioners. And 4, no construction may begin until all necessary county permits have been approved by Land Services. We sent out 20 notices and received no comments.
Thank you, Mr. Lane. Is there someone, Jeremy or Mary Hanson, or someone to speak for the Hansons online?
You bet. Both of us are here.
Sure. Just give it. Just give us your name and address for the record, please.
It's Jeremy and Mary Hanson. We have a P.O. box in Lucin, 287. We also live at 29 White Birch Trail in Lucin.
29 White Birch. Very good, thank you. Would you like to add any other comments or thoughts to what Bill has read?
Well, nothing to add. Bill did a nice job.
Very good, thank you. Then I'll open it up to the public. Anyone online that would like to, from the public, that wishes to comment on the Hanson application for basically a lot combination, please do so now. Is there anyone that wishes to comment? Okay, hearing none, then I am going to close the public hearing portion of the meeting and turn to commissioners for their thoughts, questions. And I'm just going to, let me just begin by asking the question of staff to make sure this is as simple an application as I think it is. We are just basically vacating those internal easements so that they can build a house over the lot lines.
Correct.
You know, they own them both, and they're not planning to run a drainage ditch down the middle of their house.
Correct.
Yeah, I think it seemed that simple to me as I looked at it.
Under single ownership, were it different ownerships, then we'd be looking at easements and that sort of things
Right.
along with the variance, but in this case, that's erased.
People on both sides of this easement, and, okay. So very good. I'm going to turn to commissioners then. Commissioner Laboda?
Thank you, Commissioner Fair and Bill, for that clarification you just made. That was the clarification I needed, and given that, it seems reasonable. Over.
Thank you. Commissioner Machenbacher?
I think it's a reasonable request.
Good, thank you. Commissioner Henniker?
Seems the only sensible solution, and I'm approving it. Over.
Very good, thank you. And Commissioner Treefel?
Makes a lot of sense and it's reasonable. Over.
Very good, and I agree with everyone. It just makes good sense. It's a simple administrative function for us to ease the building of a nice home at the golf course. So with that, I will ask, anyone like to make a motion to this?
Mr. Chair, Jennifer.
Yes, sir.
So moved, the conditions apply.
Okay, Commissioner Henniker has made the motion with for this application with the conditions that are noted. Do we have a second to that?
Commissioner Laboda, I would second that.
All right, now we have a first and a second on this motion. Any further discussion from the commissioners? Any further discussion? Okay, hearing none, then I'm going to move to a vote again, and I'll begin with you, Commissioner Laboda.
Aye. Over.
Thank you. Commissioner Machenbacher?
Aye. Over.
Commissioner Henniker?
Aye. Over.
Commissioner Treefel?
Aye. Over.
Thank you, and I'll vote in the affirmative as well, so we have 5 votes in favor of this. This variance has been approved as well. Thank you, and that is the end of our agenda for the Board of Adjustment. If someone would like to make a motion to adjourn this meeting, we could.
I move we adjourn.
Thank you. We have a motion from Commissioner Machenbacher to adjourn. Do we have a second?
Commissioner Laboda, I second that.
Thank you. I don't think we need too much more discussion about that. Anyone, all in favor of adjourning the Board of Adjustment, say aye. I guess I got to do the roll call, though, don't I? Adam Treefel?
Aye.
Henniker?
Aye.
Commissioner Machenbacher?
Aye.
And Commissioner Laboda?
Aye.
And I vote myself to adjourn. So, okay, we have just adjourned the Board of Adjustment. We got through 7 of our 10 hearings already, and it's only an hour and a half, huh? Are we on a time sense?
Mr. Chair, Commissioner Schluter
Yes.
is available at 3 o'clock. I don't know if you want to.
Well, we will take a poll. We'll if we have an agenda, if we have we may have a quorum online.
We probably do, and so if we're underway, he can participate as he arrives, yeah.
If he arrives, we'll sign him at the same time. Okay. Well, we're going to move forward to the Planning Commission meeting for today. I got to change screens here. Give me one moment.
Mr. Chair, this is Charlie Laboda.
Yes.
My co-applicant, Representative Scott Tyrola, won't be available till after 3. I had indicated him 3 o'clock, so.
Okay.
I think we're the last on the
Yeah.
agenda anyhow.
Yeah.
Just so you're aware.
Yeah, that's right. Bill had noted that 3 o'clock might be a key time for some folks. So we'll begin this meeting. We got 3 items, and we'll, if we get through a little earlier than that, we can take a break for a few moments and wait for folks to catch up. Okay, I got to get open to the right page here. Okay, let's open the Planning Commission meeting for 22nd of April 2020. We'll call this meeting to order, and I'll begin by taking again a roll call to see who is here for this meeting. As we do for folks listening, we do have some additional members beyond the Board of Adjustment that join us for the Planning Commission. So we'll have a different role. We'll have a couple extra folks present perhaps. So let me just begin a roll here for the Planning Commission, and I'll start with Commissioner Treefel. Just answer if you're present, please. Okay, Adam Treefel, are you there? Okay, we're going to come back to Adam in a minute. Commissioner Henniker.
Hi, here. Over.
Thank you. Commissioner Machenbacher?
Present, over.
Commissioner Laboda?
Here, over.
Okay. How about, now we're going to go into, let me go back to Adam Treefel. Adam, are you there?
Yeah, present.
Present, okay. And of course, I'm present, I'm here, so that's 5 of us. Yeah, but now let's go to extra Planning Commission members. Greg Mueller, Commissioner Mueller, are you available? Or Commissioner Shute, I know he was not going to be available till 3 o'clock, I know that, as we move this meeting up. So Commissioner Mueller and Commissioner Shute, and I don't know about Commissioner Dukirk, or County Commissioner Dukirk is also a member of our board. Are you available? Are you there, Heidi?
Yes, I am. It's been very enlightening and very awesome.
It's just fun doing a meeting in an empty room, just me. Okay, we'll just check in if Commissioner Mueller or Commissioner Shute arrive. We'll try to sign them in at the very time that they come. But we do have 5 commissioners here, so we do have more than a quorum for Planning Commission. So we're gonna move ahead here with this. Bill's coming back in. We're gonna get back and we're gonna start Planning Commission meeting. And I'm going to just, we may have new folks who've tuned in that we're not here for Board of Adjustment, so I'm going to kind of read some of this at the beginning again. Well, first of all, welcome to the Cook County Planning Commission meeting for April 22nd. Due to the continued COVID-19 concerns along with the governor's stay-at-home order and Cook County emergency declarations, this public hearing is only available for viewing via live streaming through the Cook County website at www.cook.mn.us. You may provide any comments you have on any agenda items either through the county planning and zoning email at zoning@co.cook.mn.us or in the live streaming component box. You can make your verbal comments online. If you go into the county's website, you can log in there and see us on YouTube, I guess we are. Boy, my famous day here. Okay, so having said that, we're going to begin the Planning Commission meeting with, first item is to adopt the agenda and approve the minutes of the March 11th, 2020 Planning Commission meeting. Do I have a motion?
I move we adopt the agenda and approve the minutes for the March meeting.
Thank you. Commissioner Maschenbacher has moved. Do we have a second?
Second, Henniker. Over.
All right. Commissioner Henniker has seconded. All in favor of of the agenda, adopting the agenda, improving the minutes, say aye. Or, excuse me, you can't say aye, can you? I'm going to start back in the beginning here. Commissioner Trefel, you.
Aye.
Commissioner Henniker.
Aye.
Commissioner Machenbacher.
Aye.
Commissioner Laboda.
Aye. Over.
And I'm just going to, for each thing we do, I'm going to read the other couple members here to see if they,
Mr. Chair, did you get Greg Mueller?
I haven't got them in here yet, no.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm going to read off these other, for each thing that we vote or comment on, I'm going to include the other commissioners, and when they get here, we'll have them online as well. So Commissioner Mueller, are you available? Are you there? And I don't think Commissioner Shute is available yet either. No. So, okay, we have, but we have 5 votes in favor of adopting our agenda and our minutes, so we will move forward with that. New business. First item on this agenda is Michael and Tammy Holston. Request for an interim use permit allowing a third residence on property within the single-family residential R1 zone district. Legal description, Lot 2, Block 1, Taylor Shores parcel, PID 20-290-0020. Mr. Lane.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This is case 2020-7 CUP. Applicants purchased their property in 2018. It includes 2.2 acres with approximately 264 feet of Lake Superior shoreline. Parcel was created in 1996 as part of the Taylor Shores plat. The plat is entirely contained within the R1 zone district. Lake Superior is categorized as a general development GD lake, and structural setbacks on Lake Superior are 40 feet from the vegetation line. Considerations: this is a land services driven CUP request to address what appears to have been an overconstruction of the Holston property under previous ownership, and that was the Anderson Erlacher ownership. While the Holstons purchased in 2018 2 construction projects originating in 1999 and 2003 resulted in the presence of more than 2 residential units as per Minnesota Rule 6120.2500 and effectively contributed to a LGU reference as a non-compliant property. A review of the structural build-out on the parcel indicates an expansion of the primary cabin in 1999 while continuing the seasonal use of the rustic, that is circa 1920 cabin, hence a primary and a secondary cabin. In 2003, however, a garage with an upper floor livable area was constructed. Unfortunately, then planning and zoning did not challenge the third residence, and it effectively disappeared from the regulatory horizon until the Holstons' purchase in 2018. There are several suggestions at play here in crafting a path towards compliant ownership for the Holstons. First, the rustic cabin may not currently be livable, but it has a demonstrated historic use for storage and recreation, and accordingly qualifies as a continuing structural nonconformity as per section 9.02A of the Cook County zoning ordinance. Second, the Holstons' intent is to enhance and expand that cabin, variance 2020-3B, which you entertained earlier, allowing a more seasonable livability, enhance and expand that cabin, allow more seasonable livability. Their second cabin will actually become a second cabin. Finally, there is no intent to expand or modernize the upper garage dwelling, no pressurized water delivery, meaning the categorization of 3 cabins is at best arguable. To put the Holston request into perspective, we can compare their actions with those of Heart of Superior LLC, whose purchase of their Birchwood Lane property, Planning Commission, March 11, 2020, was almost exclusively driven by economics. The Holstons have described their ownership as aesthetic, which provides both a good basis for discussion but also a decision. This is not a challenging request for the Planning Commission. It is crafted to facilitate expansion of livable area on the Holston property without implementing onerous conditions and constraints. If approved, the following conditions may be attached to the CUP. 1, a property shall the property shall comply with Minnesota Rule 7080 and the Cook County Septic Ordinance. A septic inspection shall be necessary. 2, any short-term rental of livable units shall comply with Article 5.2C of the Cook County Vacation Rental Ordinance. We sent out 11 notices and received no comments at the time of this narrative preparation.
Thank you, Mr. Lane. As commissioners may recall, this same property was our, as Bill had mentioned, was the first item on our agenda, or the first application on our agenda for the Board of Adjustment. So we're talking about that same property. We may have some familiarity there. So at this point, I will then ask if the Holstons are still with us.
Yes.
Yes.
I was on here, Tammy.
Yeah, very good, Tabby. Thank you. Would you like to make any additional comments or to Bill's narrative?
No, I think Mr. Lane did a great job again, and basically it's just 2 rustic cabins and or historic cabins and a garage with an open space. Above is what we have.
Very good, thank you. Do you have anything else you'd like to say?
Nope.
No, okay. Then I will, at this point, open it up to the public. If there is anyone else listening today that wishes to comment on this property or this application, now is your opportunity. So if you have a comment about the Holston conditional use or interim use permit, which is a conditional?
It's an interim use.
Interim. Yeah. If anyone has comments about that application, now's your opportunity. So please come forward if you have comments or questions. Again, anyone that wishes to speak to the Holston IUP.
Mr. Chair, can I, I'm looking at this interim use permit designation, and I think we can switch that over to conditional use.
Conditional, yeah.
Because we
That's why I
don't have
asked
any
the question.
time constraint, and that's probably just a redundant title that I put in there without a lot of follow-up. So I would suggest that a conditional use permit would be more appropriate for this.
If everyone understood what Mr. Lane just said, that, we have a little conflict between an interim use permit and a conditional use permit. He believes that we should, conditional use is more appropriate in this case, so we may want to consider that in the application. Excuse me. Having heard no one else come forward, we're going to close the public portion of the hearing and turn now to commissioners for their thoughts or comments on this property. And I'll begin with Commissioner Triefel.
Yeah, I have no issues with it, along with the changing of it to conditional use permit, and no question. Have them out.
Very good, thank you. Commissioner Henniker?
I also have no problems with it. Conditional use permit makes sense. Over.
Very good, thank you. Commissioner Matschbacher?
No questions. Over.
Thank you. Commissioner Laboda?
No questions.
Thank you.
Reasonable. Okay.
Commissioner Mueller, are you there? Okay, Commissioner Shute?
Yes, I am here.
All right.
And, I have no problems with this, and changing it over to a conditional use permit is fine with me.
Okay, very good. We'll just note for the record that Commissioner Shute has joined us now for the Planning Commission meeting. Thank you. I'm personally, I have no issues with this at all either, so anyone have any ideas to make a motion?
Commissioner Laboda, I would motion to approve as a conditional use permit with the 2 conditions as over.
Yeah. Very good, thank you. And I'm just noting, looking at the conditions that are in the permit, we do call it at that point, the following conditions are attached to this CUP. So it is a conditional use permit we're talking about. We have a motion from Commissioner Laboda. Do we have a second?
Commissioner Schlote, second.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion from the commissioners? Commissioners, any further thought on the Holston narrative? Well, hearing none, I'll call for a vote. Adam Treefel.
I support it.
Commissioner Henniker.
Aye. Over.
Commissioner Machenbacher.
Aye. Over.
Commissioner Laboda.
Aye. Over.
Commissioner Mueller. I don't believe he's joined us yet. Commissioner Shute.
Aye, over.
Thank you. So we have, and I myself will be an aye as well. So it's a unanimous vote of the 6 commissioners that are present. So that will be sent on to the county board. And now we've moved folks from Board of Adjustment to Planning Commission, and Planning Commission issues are this is a recommendation that we are making to the county board to approve this item. So it will come at a future county board meeting. You can check in with the planning staff and find out when it will be on the agenda. I can't tell you that right at this moment, but on the agenda soon. So let's move on to our next item, which is, we got second here. I'm on the wrong, not planning committee. Okay. Our second item then today is the Katie and James Bissell request for an interim use permit to allow a home business operation in the FAR 3 zone district on property adjacent to County Road 7. The legal description is part of the northeast quarter of Section 28, Township 61 North, Range 1 West. Parcel ID is 52-128-1120. Mr. Lane.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This is case 2020-8 CUP. The Bissell property was purchased in 2019 and includes 1.9 acres and approximately 540 feet of frontage on County Road 7. Parcel is located in the home Forest Agriculture Residential, or FAR 3 zone district. The applicants propose to establish a small tattoo operation on their property. Home business is a commercial or minor industrial business use conducted on the same property on which the owner's home is situated, which may employ no more than 5 persons who are not residents of the owner's home, which is consistent with rural residential lifestyle, and which is established and operated under such conditions that the use may not be a nuisance to or otherwise incompatible with the surrounding area. That's from Section 2.30 of the Cook County zoning ordinance. Home occupations and home businesses are appropriate uses in all districts that permit residences. That's from the Land Use Guide Plan of 2016. And Cook County's economy is based upon natural resources and individual talent and determination. Few businesses can be considered large, and nearly all are owned by local residents. County's highly desirable qualities attract and keep creative people capable of using their own and the area's resources to fashion household supporting livelihoods within the county's vibrant, diverse, and rurally scaled economy. That too is from the Land Use Guide Plan. The applicants have owned their property since 2019, and shortly after their purchase approached Land Services about establishing a small business footprint on their County Road 7 parcel. Ms. Bissell described her work as a tattoo artist with a business model focusing on portability of her operations. For over the past decade, weekend or longer-term events have provided an incentive for Ms. Bissell to move her trailer and ink throughout the upper Midwest. As presented, Land Services originally assigned this as a home occupation activity, which would be a permitted use by right of ownership in the FAR 3 zone district. However, the presence of specialized facilities, albeit a travel trailer, and equipment, and the commercial aspect, that is, other artists, of her art and customer visits, brought us around to a home business operation. To that end, Ms. Bissell has suggested visitors will not prove disruptive, nor will the flow of traffic on County Road 7 be impeded. Instead, Her operation will be discreet and will focus on a tattoo operation with an appointment-driven model. Typically, Land Services has assigned IUPs or CUPs to business models, not for protection of the business purveyor, but instead to have measures in place to protect the immediate residential landscape. The inclusion of conditions and reviews can be beneficial for all involved parties. Following conditions may provide guidance for the Bissell IUP. 1, the permit shall be valid for 5 years. Thereafter, a new home business IUP shall be necessary. 2, sale or transfer of the property title shall invalidate the permit. 3, an annual review shall be conducted at the end of 2020 to determine business impacts. The review shall be presented to the Planning Commission and Board of Commissioners. 4, hours of operation shall be limited to 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. 5, parking must be facilitated on the Bissell property. No parking shall be allowed on County Road 7 or 45. 6, any commercial advertisement display shall comply with the Cook County sign ordinance. We sent out 14 letters of notification. We received several phone inquiries without support or opposition comments.
Thank you, Mr. Lane. James Arcady Bissell, is someone here to speak to this item for the landowner?
Yes, hi, I'm Katie.
Hello, Katie. Would you give us your name and address for the record, please?
Yes, it's Katie Bissell, and it's 2679 County Road 7, Grand Marais, Minnesota.
Thank you. Anything you would like to add to the narrative that Bill just read for us?
He did a great job. I guess my biggest thing is I'm just trying to keep things legal and more local, I guess, with business. Right now, the closest legitimate tattoo shop is actually down in Duluth. And so people have to drive, 2 hours down, 2 hours back to get any work done. So I'm just hoping to kind of keep that business more local than having to travel.
Very good. Thank you. Anything else you'd like to add?
Not that I can think of.
All right, thank you. Then I'm going to open this up to the hearing up to the public. Anyone who would like to make a comment regarding the Bissell application, now is your opportunity. Please come online. Anyone that wants to comment or have thoughts about the Bissell application, now is your opportunity. Hearing none, then I am going to close the public hearing, and we'll turn to the commissioners for their thoughts and comments. I'll just begin myself again and say I visited the property yesterday and saw your trailer. Driven by there many times and never noticed it, so it's not. It doesn't stick out too much like a sore thumb. I didn't know you had it there until I looked at it yesterday. I don't see that an issue for myself. I think it's fine and fits into our zoning well. So with that, I'm going to turn to the other commissioners, and I'll begin over on the far side here. Commissioner Shute, you have comments or thoughts about this?
The only question I had, and it appears to be as one of the conditions that an advertising display sign shall comply with our sign ordinance. I'm not sure how big that sign will be, but I don't think we want a real large billboard out there. But other than that, I have no problems with this.
Very good, thank you. Commissioner Laborda.
Yeah, I've got no problems with this. It does seem over.
Thank you. Commissioner Mueller, are you here? Greg Mueller? Okay, I'm going to move on to Commissioner. Was that you, Commissioner Mueller? Our new technology. We hear a little beep here and we think it's somebody new coming online.
Or food.
Yeah, or food, yeah. No, there's nobody delivering food. Okay, so I'm going to continue down the line. Commissioner Maschenbacher.
2 questions. Will there be other artists working out of the trailer? And the second question, will the trailer be left in place or will it be traveling still?
So I do intend on just having myself be the only artist here. I do have a couple friends that have asked if they would be able to do guest spots, but everything is regulated through the state of Minnesota. So once I get zoning approval, then I have to go through their kind of routine too. So I do plan on, I do the Steel Pony Free Fair down in Owatonna, and then sometimes the Waseca Fair. So if I do travel to those, I have to get other permits to travel to those as well. But other than that, it'll be parked here at my local residence the rest of the time.
Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Henniker.
The required extra conditions of state regulation on this makes it an even more comfortable application. I think that there's very little to be concerned about. It's highly regulated, and it seems like a rather compact situation, and the fact that there are appointments, there's very little traffic that can be considered. I'd say this is a good proposal. Over.
Good. Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Treefel.
I have no questions, and I think it's very reasonable.
Very good, thank you. I think we've been through the list, and I stated my thoughts earlier. I don't have a problem with this, and Commissioner Machenbacher asked my questions already about, I guess when it's, I'm picturing this trailer, when you decide to go somewhere else, it's not our issue. As you said, you get permits where you're going, and we're dealing with what you're doing on the property. So I don't have any further issues myself. I'd entertain a motion.
Mr. Chair, Henniker, I make the motion to approve with the conditions as suggested. Over.
Thank you. We have a commissioner. We have a motion from Commissioner Henniker for this application as stated with the 6 conditions. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
All right, we have a second from Commissioner Machenbacher. Any further discussion or comments from the commissioners on this item? Any further discussion? Okay, hearing none, I'm going to, we'll move to a vote. And with Commissioner Shute?
Commissioner Sloat, aye.
Slope. I'll get it someday, John. Aye. Okay, Commissioner Mueller, are you available? Are you there?
I just caught the last 2 minutes. Is this Holston?
No, this is, we've finished that one, Greg. We're on the Bissell property, which is the tattoo artist on County Road 7.
Oh, yeah, I visited it. Yes, I support it.
Very good, thank you. Should make a note here that Commissioner Mueller joined us shortly before 3 here, about 2:55 or something. All right, Commissioner Laboda.
Aye. So that's like, I got no comments, I'm good with it.
Very good, thank you. And yeah, I think we got a, do we have, yeah, we got a motion. We're voting here. I got to keep track of where we're going here. We are in the vote, so yes. Commissioner Machenbacher,
Aye. Over.
Commissioner Henniker,
Aye. Over.
Commissioner Treefel.
Aye. Over.
Very good, and I will vote in favor myself, so we have 7 votes in favor. It will be sent to the county board for their consideration. Thank you to the Bissells. All right, third item today, if I can get my agenda going. Yeah, the third one is the Laboda. Do we, are we prepared? We have our commissioners here. Charlie, is the folks from Uland or your co-applicant there?
Yeah, we're here and ready to go on.
All right, let's just keep moving. We'll get done with this before.
See, Mr. Chair?
Yes.
I'd like to make a suggestion. Mr. Laboda submitted a couple of comment sheets before the meeting, which I sent out to all the
I
members.
saw it come up on my email. I haven't had a chance to even look at it.
If we could take maybe 5 minutes or 10 minutes
All right.
to review that, so
Okay,
it's part of the
I think that's a good thing. I saw that come up
deliberation.
on my email and did not even have time to open it. So we're gonna, folks, We're going to take about 10 minutes here. It's 3 o'clock. I have exactly 3 o'clock. And we're going to take about 10 minutes to get a cup of coffee, do what you need to do, but take a look at the comments that have been sent to you. You should have them in an email, and we'll review those quickly and come back in about 10 minutes. Is that all right? So I'll just adjourn this meeting for about 10 minutes. We'll try to get back here at 3:10.
Okay. Bill, this is Charlie. I appreciate that suggestion. Thank you.
Sure, no problem.
All right, let's begin our meeting again here. If you've had a chance to review, I think there was 3 attachments the Labordas had sent in to review. If you had a chance to look at those, we're going to move forward here. And our last item on our agenda is Laboda Grading LLC and Clarence Kemp request for an interim use permit to establish a hot mix asphalt facility and to increase the open area allowance on property adjacent to the Arrowhead Trail. Legal description is southwest quarter of the northwest quarter in the west 1/2 of the southwest quarter, section 20, and the northeast quarter of the southeast quarter of section 19, all in Township 63 North, Range 4 East, excuse me. Parcel IDs are 56-320-2300, 56-320-3200, and 56-319-4100. Mr. Lane.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This is case 2020-3 CUP. The gravel pit was permitted in 1995 by the Cook County Board of Commissioners, Resolution 95-39. Pit boundaries are contained within 3 parcels comprising 160 acres. The applicants entered into a contract for deed purchase agreement with Clarence Kemp in 2015. That contract matures on August 6, 2020. The property is contained within the Forest Agriculture Recreational or FAR 1 zone district and the Forest Agriculture Residential FAR 2 zone districts. Gravel pit operation in this property is allowed under Board of Commissioners Resolution 95-39, and that was amended in 2015, Resolution 2015-53, to allow expansion of open area in the pit from 2 to 5 acres. Considerations. The Laboda Arrowhead Trail gravel pit is situated on 3 parcels comprising 160 acres. Gravel resources on the site are the result of glacial outwash actions, leaving the deposition of a variety of mining resources, including bedrock, boulders, mixed aggregates, sand, and clay. Hydrology is a prominent feature of the landscape. Wetland scientist Wayne Henchy described the natural topography, including a north-south esker, allows flow in a northerly and northeasterly direction across the property. Land Services Wetland Authority Mitch Travis added, this direction of flow appears linked to a direct superficial water connection to Irish Creek. The southern half of the delineated area also shows a direct superficial waters connection to the Swamp River. The pit was first permitted in 1995, Resolution 95-39. From then until 2015, it remained under the ownership of Clarence Kemp. In 2015, Mr. Kemp entered a 5-year contract for deed agreement with Laboda Enterprises. Final CD payment is scheduled for August 6, 2020. As a component of the contract for deed, the Labodas and Mr. Kemp sought modification of several conditions attached to Resolution 95-39. In part, modifications were intended to utilize more of the site's resources, but also to facilitate pit expansion. Conditions amended as a result of 2015-53 included wetland delineations for each of the 3 phases of mining, that was condition 2, establishment of the static water level, condition 3, a 12.5-foot protective buffer at the wetland-upland interface, an expansion of open area from 2 to 5 acres, condition 6, and retention of topsoil, condition 10. As required by condition 2 of the amended permit, wetland delineations were conducted in 2015 and 2018. Of 116.6 acres delineated, 32.51 acres, or 28%, were identified as wetlands, including a variety of herbaceous and woody wetland types. See the wetland delineations from Henchy and Tim Letterly, which are part of the packet. As submitted, this IUP request includes 2 additional amendments of Resolution 2015-53. Allowance of a hot mix asphalt operation and expansion of the open area allowance from 5 to 20 acres. The hot mix plant is portable and permitted by the MPCA thereby removing much of the monitoring burden from Cook County. However, hot mix operations must adhere to Section 10.06 of the Cook County zoning ordinance, including the following permitting criteria. 1, separation distance from any asphalt plant to any residence or developed recreation area, that is a park, campground, school, etc., shall be a minimum of 2,600 feet. A lesser setback shall be allowed provided the owners of all residential dwellings located less than 2,600 feet from the asphalt plant sign a release allowing the temporary asphalt plant to be located at a setback of less than 2,600 feet. 2, separation distance from any asphalt plant to any protected water of the state of Minnesota shall be a minimum of 200 feet. 3, a temporary permit shall be issued for a maximum of 100 days. 4, operation requirements which shall be met prior to start of asphalt production. Bond of $50,000 for spill containment plan, erosion control plan, waste oil not allowed as plant fuel, and it must meet all state and federal regulations. Given the remoteness of the pit, the inclusion of Yulin Brothers, and the regulatory oversight of the MPCA, we do not foresee any conflicts with Section 10.6, in allowing the portable hot mix facility to move forward, provided there is a demonstrated ability of the pit itself to support activities and doing so within permit constraints. To that end, expansion of the pit to 20 acres deviates markedly from recent pit expansion requests. Resolutions 2015-47A, which is Bouch, 2013-09, which was Cook County, and 2013-27, the Humphrey Pit, all afforded open area increases from 5 to 10 acres. Moreover, those pit expansions were complemented by observable restoration efforts. For context, recent GPS field verification at the Labota Pit identified a current open area of 7.7 acres. Applying allowances for parking and pit access, approximately 0.6 of an acre, approximately 7 acres has been opened, or 2 acres more than that allowed by Resolution 2015-53. 2 observations may be gleaned from this. First, the fluidity of the gravel pit model, which is excavation restoration within a 5-acre window, is not being observed. Second, without a demonstration of active restoration and without hydrologic accountability, a 3-fold expansion to 20 acres is not a reasonable amendment request at this time. So where does this leave us? The need for hot mix product is critical and essential for products throughout Cook County. In the past, Yulin Brothers and Cook County have cooperated in resolving county infrastructure needs with a demonstration for compliant and timely completion of critical projects. We also assume that will continue into the future. At this point, however, the collaborative IUP amendment request between Labota and Yulin has no discrete projects identified, no volumes of production identified, no identification of the sources of clean materials, a necessary hot mix component, no transport estimates, and is otherwise being forwarded as an open-ended application. Given that the function of the LGU is to act cautiously, we still do not have a clear picture of what the short and long-term intents are of pit operations. The following conditions may be applied to this interim use permit. 1, no wash operations shall be allowed in conjunction with the hot mix operation. 2, all state, local, and federal permits and requirements thereof shall be in place prior to the initiation of asphalt production. 3, all conditions of Resolution 2015 shall remain in place. 4, all aspects of Section 10.06 shall be met by the contractor and property owner during all phases of the project. 5, hot mix asphalt production shall occur on no more than 100 days per calendar year. 6, this IUP shall be valid for 3 years. Thereafter, a new permit shall be necessary. 7, hours of operation for pit production of asphalt and hauling of asphalt shall be limited to 600 hours to 2,000 hours, Monday through Saturday. 8, an impervious surface shall be placed where refueling of trucks and other equipment takes place. 9, a spill management plan shall be submitted and approved to manage any spill of hazardous materials. Spills of over 5 gallons must be reported to the MPCA. 10, waste oil should not be allowed as a fuel for the asphalt plant. 11, noise and dust suppression shall be applied proactively during active transport of asphalt product from the pit. 12, all large site stormwater components identified in sections 5 and 6 in the Cook County Stormwater Ordinance shall be submitted to Land Services in the Cook County Soil and Water Conservation District and must be approved prior to the initiation of additional site activities. 13, the violation of any condition for site-issued permits shall be grounds for revocation of that permit and allowances therein. We sent out 6 letters of notification. We received no comments. I did receive notice from Director Nelson of Land Services that Clarence Kemp did provide a verbal comment that he was supporting the Leboda request.
Very good, thank you, Mr. Lane. At this point, we turn to the applicants. If you have some additional comments, the Lebodas or someone from Ulin's with you, I guess we'd like to begin with some names and addresses again so we know who's all speaking.
Mr. Chair, this is Charlie Leboda with Leboda Grading. I'm at 39th Train Trail, Oakland, 30 Black Ranch. No, I didn't say that. Sorry, that was with 39th Train Trail, Oakland, Minnesota.
Thank you.
We will also have, you want their names first, or?
Sure.
Good afternoon, everyone. This is Scott Carola with Hewlin Brothers. Address is 5940 Lake Road, Duluth, Minnesota.
Thank you. Yeah, what would do you have some comments you'd like to make in addition to Bill's narrative?
I would note also Tyson Smith of Smith's Law will be representing us also. He's listening in and may make some comments.
Very good.
Primarily,
That's correct. I can comment during the public period if that's acceptable.
Certainly. Go ahead, Charlie.
Primary comments were in the letter and information you just had been given and read. Just a couple notes here. Last fall in our annual review, we did discuss open area, and it appears the discrepancy is between the space we need for our equipment storage and supplies, parking and equipment supplies. One thing moving forward that will change is I don't foresee that area moving forward needing to expand. So using depleted pit area for that, I don't foresee needing to do that. So that will shift in the future. The area we have now does fit for all that equipment. That'll be a change moving forward that we'll be using that particular item in the definition of open area significantly less.
Excuse me, Mr. Chair?
Yes.
Yeah, this is Tim Nelson. I'm really sorry to interrupt. I just want to make it kind of clear for the record that Charlie Leboda is recusing himself and that right now he's just speaking as an applicant.
Yes, you're aware of that, Charlie.
Yeah, thank you, Tim, for that clarification.
If I might say, just for the public or anyone that's listening, so that they do understand that Charlie Leboda of the Leboda Construction is a member of our commission as well, but he's not sitting as a member of the commission during this application. Go ahead, Charlie.
Scott's going to address the open area need a little bit more, but I just want to touch on it. And as we stated in the letter, we do need the 20 acres. We're trying to set ourselves up for this. If we don't need it, we're not going to open more than is needed. But the
the scope of the project would dictate the real need for the 20 space. Also, 10.05 of the zoning ordinance and 10.06 that regulate pits does not describe a limit to open space. Condition 12 that addresses the stormwater ordinance, I just would like to point out that to meet those conditions, 5 and 6 of the stormwater ordinance are, it's a rigorous permit process to go through there to have that permit done and approved, and that also requires additional financial security, meaning we'll have to put additional bonding up for the mitigation. So I think that should help with the concerns of the 20 acres. Condition 1, or the couple changes, if you got read through that, I suggested a couple changes to that. The conditions, condition 1, just to say that any future washing that would, if we came in, it wouldn't be part of this, and I just don't want it to be disallowed, and if we came in with the permit in the future, that permit would have to be held to the appropriate criteria and scrutiny of its own application. But I would like that verbiage just so we don't disallow it in this one, or have to readjust this one if we came back for that in the future. One other thing in my letter, I had suggested a condition 15, condition 14 for the open space, but also condition 15. I'm not sure if there's still any confusion on the part, as far as from Bill or Tim on what that is, or from any of you that was part of this request. If there is still confusion, we could just drop that one and deal with it later. But if everyone was clear on it and it could be included, that would be great. With that, I'm going to turn it over to
Charlie. Charlie, if I might, I want to just have you clarify what you just said a little bit, because well, I read through that stuff and others did too. It was a lot of information in a very few minutes. So you were just talking about making changes. We need to get that a little clearer what you're asking for, so that we are all on board. And we're not sitting, you know how it is. We're not sitting in the same room talking about this. And I wasn't clear what you just said, so I would like you to kind of reframe that if you could.
Which part, Don, are you referring to?
The condition, those conditions. You were talking about conditions 14, 15.
And 1.
In 1, yeah, 1 I got.
I've got that. In that letter, and what I'm asking for is on condition number 1, the proposed condition number 1 in the narrative, I just request to add a little bit of verbiage there that would state unless or until further permit issuance. And I think that would allow at least the opportunity in the future to apply for a separate permit if it was proven.
Okay.
Condition number 3, I think we just need to add the verbiage that conditions from the 2015 permit would all hold true except as modified by this IUP. Just to make this IUP be not in conflict with the original, with the 2015 conditions we're currently under.
Okay. Yeah. Gotcha.
The other thought I had, condition number 6, in reference to condition 13, that states violation of any condition for site issued permit shall be grounds for revocation of that permit and its allowances therein. My understanding is that is true regardless of whether it's in or not, and I'm very comfortable with it being in as a condition. But given that that is true, that if we violate any permit conditions, this could be pulled, then I think what we had asked for was a 10-year allowance on this IUP, and I'm asking you to reconsider that 10-year window, or something more than 3 years if you consider that. What I also was, the request was to add a condition number 14, allowing the 20-acre open area based on the existing open area definition. And then 2015 referred to a setback change with the adjoining DNR gravel permit that we're going to have, or likely will have. It's in the process right now of being approved. And that condition 15 would only be active if that permit was in good standing, issued and in good standing. Otherwise, the 50-foot existing setback would remain the same.
So you have an application in for a permit with the Forest Service?
With the DNR, yeah.
DNR, okay, yeah, all right.
Can I just make a quick
Certainly,
comment?
Mr. Lane.
The request today is for hot mix and expansion of the open area.
Yes.
So we are limited to those features. As far as conditions that modify or change the scope or perspective of 2015-53, that isn't our purview at this point.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Go ahead, Charlie. What else do you have there?
I guess, just to what Bill just said, I guess let's just, for the sake of not getting confused on anything, let's just, my suggestion of a condition 15, just drop that.
Okay, thank you. Okay, did you have someone else to speak there?
Scott Carola is going to go ahead.
Very good.
Okay, yes, hello, everyone.
Hello. Go ahead, Scott.
Taking the time to be with us here today. We just wanted to maybe kind of lay out some background information on kind of the pit expansion portion of this application and kind of get the gravity of things. And we were fortunate enough to meet with county staff middle of January this year, and we kind of want to give a preview of what we're going to do before we turn in our formal application. And we thought that was a pretty good meeting to get together, be transparent, talk about kind of what the vision was for the pit in the future. And as we sit here today, we kind of think about, we're looking at this DOT project that's actually bid here this Friday, coming real soon. And it's a large project. There's over 100,000 tons of asphalt on the project. And a lot of the other jobs up this way have been, a quarter to a third of that quantity of asphalt. And that's why some of these other pits, you could maybe add 5 acres on them and kind of make them utilized, where as it kind of feels on this one with this size of a project, that's why we have a larger footprint here to accommodate the project. And we did kind of send a breakdown of kind of what it takes for stockpiles and plant setup to do a project like this. And if I could just even back up a little bit more, kind of think of sometimes like a gravel pit, like trying to bake a cake. In a gravel pit, you have all these different products you have to use to meet the project specifications, different rocks, different sands, different materials. When you bake a cake in your kitchen, you have a couple, 3 ingredients you need to make it all work. And we're kind of working here with the geology and the glacial outwash from millions of years ago to put all these ingredients together for our cake. And that kind of lends itself to having to kind of expand the pit to where these different products are, there's different ingredients. And let me be clear, we don't want to go any further than we need to this expansion. The bigger the footprint, the more cost that we have into this development to do that. Not just pit development, but restoration also. So we have no reason to do more than we need. We just want to make sure that we can get these proper products/ingredients to do this project. So just want to give you a little background and kind of where we're at, kind of the history of things here, and open up to any questions or comments that the finance commissioners may have for us. Out.
Very good, thank you, Scott. Anything else from the applicant before I open to the public? I think, as I understood him, he was going to speak during the public portion, but we can speak now if he likes to.
Public portion is different.
Okay, then I am going to open it up to the public. For anyone who is listening that wants to comment on the application for the Leboda LLC gravel pit on Arrowhead Road, to please tell us now.
Mr. Commissioner, this is Tyson Smith, 1710 West Highway 61,
Yes.
attorney for Leboda Grading LLC. I want to speak particularly about the 5-acre requirement in the current CUP. I suggest that by granting this interim use permit, you would certainly be allowed to expand the scope and area of use. I noticed Mr. Lane's comment that this is a deviation from other pits in the area, and I respectfully disagree. I did a quick survey of some of the bigger pits in the county. You see KGM's got 25 plus acres of open area on the Ball Club Road. Bouch has got 40 plus up on Meridian. Isaac Hansen's got 40 plus out on Kramer, and the Nelsons have at least 30 plus on County Road 8. There's a precedent for bigger pits in the county, and I think that if the applicant has demonstrated the need for the extra space, which it seems to me Leboda Grading has, along with you and Brothers, and they told you they don't want to make it bigger than it needs to be because it's expensive. And they're also indicating their willingness to comply with stormwater plans and comply with the wetland rules that are in place. It seems to me that the request for the expansion should be granted. I'd also say just, and I'm not sure this relates specifically to any element of the IUP request, but there's two types of gravel pit operators in Cook County. There's the folks that do it like Leboda Grading, and there are the folks that don't. You would really rather have the Leboda folks operating your gravel pits because they've been above board ever since we started representing them. I hope you consider this request favorably. Thanks, that's all I've got.
Thank you. Anyone else from the public here that wants to comment on this Leboda application? Now is your opportunity. Anyone else to speak to Leboda? Okay, hearing none, I'm going to close the public portion of this hearing and turn to the commissioners for their thoughts, comments, questions. And we'll begin, since you guys came late, we're going to start over there with John and Greg. Commissioner Schutz, what comments do you have?
Well, Commissioner Schlote, my biggest concern would be stretching it out to a 10-year window. I'd rather not see a 10-year. I think that the 3-year, and we can revisit it in 3 years to see how this has progressed. I know that we have to have this. It's a necessary for our highways in the county, and I think I would just rather stick with all of the suggestions and conditions that the county has imposed on this, and I would approve.
All right, thank you, Commissioner Shoup. Commissioner Mueller.
Yeah, this is Commissioner Mueller, and I appreciate the clarity and the definitions of the last two presenters there, including the attorney. I am in support of it. Again, my only question is, I agree, is this timeline, how many years out, if that's still open up for discussion. But I think we do need this. I think the Highway 61 project is a real significant, and this needs to be a partner in that.
Very good, thank you. Commissioner Machenbecker.
I support it. I could work with the time frame. 3 seems kind of short. 5 may be more reasonable. I also think it would be very prudent for the county to have written permission from Mr. Kemp, because he's the property owner of record, just to make sure that it's in writing that he approves of this project.
application?
No. No, Commissioner Machenbacher, that evidently that letter of signature of support is forthcoming at this point.
Okay, as a person who does contract for deeds, this is just kind of important that he be informed and aware of what's going on the property and
Correct.
agree to it. Thank you.
Yeah. My understanding is staff has had conversation with him in the last week. Is that correct?
Right, I believe
Okay.
it.
Yeah.
It really does need to be in writing.
Yep, I'm with you. That doesn't, we do need to have it written. That's true. Okay, thank you. Commissioner Henniker.
I too would say it should be conditional upon receipt of that document. I understand that it may be forthcoming, but if it's not here, I would make it conditional on that. The other conditions I think that Charlie has suggested here do seem reasonable to me, except for on condition 6, I would limit that to 5 years. I would not go to 10. 3, I think, is a bit short. That and I do support the idea of the option of having 20 acres open. And considering some of the projects that we are looking at coming up, I think we would be wise to be planning ahead, knowing that he's not going to use more of it than is really necessary, but it may exceed what we otherwise might offer. Over.
Thank you, Commissioner Henniker. Commissioner Triefel.
Yeah, I agree with the changes Charlie had, except for I agree with how Judy and Jerry both said it should be a 5-year versus a 10 or a 3, and then I would fully support it.
Thank you. I just want to kind of frame what we're talking about a little bit. It is like I think Bill had said it, we have two basic issues. An interim use permit for a hot mix plant, and I don't hear anybody speaking against that. We all know we need to do that. The second part is there may be some smaller issues that Charlie or Bill brought up, but it really is about how much open ground this pit can have. And we're somewhere between 5 and 20 acres. It sounds like there's not a big disagreement. There may be about 7 acres open now, but we can discuss how much of that is for parking and roads that comes off of that. But it's the future size of the pit, and I could fully appreciate what the gentleman from Newland has said, talking about larger projects here, and as some of your commissioners have said. But that's basically how I see the question, how I'm framing the question that we have to answer is how much open ground do we want to allow this pit to have? Otherwise, I mean, I'm looking at things. I heard the Labordas talk about condition number 1. And I think Charlie had said, yeah, well, it's okay. In the future, we'd have to have we'd take another permit anyway to do a wash plant. So I'm comfortable with the wash plant statement being in there. Even if it wasn't in there, you can't have a wash plant without a permit. That's all there is to it. But so I think we need I like that. I like that condition. What other comments or thoughts here about pit size, Mr. Lane?
Mr. Chair, I just want to interject here a couple of things regarding the open space area in reference to other pits and multiple acres of open area and stuff. The open area is based on permitted gravel pits in Cook County, of which we have 11. The open space area was a highly contentious component that was introduced regarding the Bouch Pit up on Meridian Road. And the definition that we use now is applied evenly. A couple of things. One, there is a difference here. If you look at the wetland delineations, there's a pretty significant component of wetlands, over 32 acres within the 160 acres of the Leboda ownership. From a land services perspective, we have to be cognizant and highly aware of the hydrology of this area. That is where the expansion from 5 to 20 acres is a little concerning, primarily because in the past, we've done these operations, we've done hot mix, we've done wash operations and things like that within a 10-acre open area context. And that isn't a point of contention or anything like that. It's just so that is entered into the discussion as the facts that we're dealing with at the local government unit. And our charge is to protect the resources of Cook County, but also to make sure that infrastructure is produced and done so accordingly to ordinance oversight and that sort of thing.
This is Commissioner Schlote.
Yes, sir.
Bill? Bill?
Yes.
What do you, if 20 acres is not reasonable, what do you feel is a reasonable acreage amount for this operation, for what their needs are?
I'm not a geologist. I think Mr. Corolla's explanation of we may need up to 20 acres it's not different from saying a structural setback for a variance may not exceed 30 feet from the shoreline, meaning it can be less than that, that sort of. I can't project that, Commissioner Schlote. My only concern here is that this is done cautiously and with information and data, because this is a conservation issue at this point. And if we don't acknowledge the wetland presence and the need for extra scrutiny, protection, stormwater measures, things like that, then we'll come back in a couple of years and probably have some lament about the direction of the decision. And that isn't my decision. You are the deciding board, the recommending board, and my whole responsibility is to make sure that you know how Land Services feels. We understand this is a necessary resource. We also have some sense of conservation, protection, and that sort of thing.
Thank you.
If I might, let's, should we, someone else have a comment? I was hoping somebody was going to jump in there. I'm going to, if we can, just for a second. Pardon me?
This is Charlie.
You gotta turn your mute,
Something's going on, Charlie. You're all echoes. We can't understand you. Try again.
Can you hear me better now?
Yeah, very good.
I realize it's closed to the public. I'm wondering if I could just make a statement.
Certainly. Go ahead, Charlie.
And I'm forgetting the point I was going to make. Gee, I just want to reiterate, first off, the 5-year versus 10, that would be a reasonable compromise. The 20 acres is really a need at this point to accommodate the potentials of this contract coming up. And I just want to restate, if we don't need that space, we're not going to open more than we need. It wouldn't be prudent by any standard to open more than we need. But we do need that. And we have, I think that for the moment, I'm here for any questions.
All right. Thank you, Charlie. All right. Other comments by commissioners?
I have a question. When you say open 20 acres, are there as you open areas, are there erosion controls put in place? Or is it just open it all up and then restore it when you're done?
Judy, this is Charlie. Yes, there would be erosion controls in place. One of the primary controls is that any open area will have soil berms around it to not allow water discharge. Condition number 12, I believe it was, stating we have to comply with the stormwater ordinance. That's section 5 and 6. We would qualify as a large site, so we would need to submit designs for a SWIP, a stormwater pollution protection plan, and have that approved by the PCA and Cook County Soil and Water and Land Services. So there would be significant sediment and erosion control measures applied. Over.
One more question. Is access to the pit gated to prevent access from the public or kids or anyone else?
Can I answer that, Judy? I had to climb over the chain to get in there this morning, so they keep it locked up.
Okay.
Yeah. Other comments or questions from commissioners?
I have a question, Don.
Yes.
What do you think when you went to visit? What did you see when you were there?
Well, I walked probably half of the pit. I didn't go all the way to the very back of the pit. It's a difficult time of the year, for one thing, to really analyze what's happening down in the gravel pit because everything's brown. You really can't see new growth or vegetation. And, gravel pits are messy places. I'm sorry. I can't tell you that I saw anything that I would say is a negative. I could see where there is, if you remember, we had some conversation within the last year about groundwater there. I can see where they made, restored some areas because they had been a little too deep and they've been backfilled. I don't know. I'm kind of going to be with Bill. I'm not a geologist either. I've been around a lot of gravel pits, and this looks like another gravel pit. It isn't. It is, as is noted in the narrative. It's in an area. It's in a kind of a wet area. There's little. The terrain up in that country and the amount of streams and creeks that are flowing. So, from that perspective, we have to be a little cautious. But otherwise, I'm not going to comment, Judy, on whether it's good or bad because. Mm-hmm. It's another gravel pit, piles of gravel all over and lots of equipment, and unless you in July you could tell a lot more. Today it's hard to say for me, from just my perspective. I can say that as I walked around, you can see where they bermed off and have done the remediation that they can to stop groundwater and things. But it's a low wet area up in there. They got some hills to work in, but. If you get too deep, you're in groundwater in a hurry there.
Yeah.
If I might, not hearing too many more comments or questions, could we just walk through these conditions once to see where we are? I mean, number one is the no wash operations, and that is true, and it would take another permit, I believe, to change that. So. It is what it is. You can't set up a wash plant in there without a separate permit or another permit. This one doesn't allow it, and that's all that's saying. The second thing is permits in place. Is very typical. What the state does regulate the asphalt production. Third, that all other conditions remain in place. Well, Bill just stepped out of the room. Tim, if you're online, you could perhaps answer this for me. But we are talking about. A new IUP, and anything we do in this IUP that changes that, it's changed. Is that correct?
With an IUP, conditions are a lot more flexible than those within a CUP. So you have a lot more flexibility with instituting conditions that can be more restrictive than what's already in a CUP.
Right. So, but in this case, if we pass whatever we pass in this IUP today, that is the new rule. But if anything that's not changed from the old CUP remains in place?
That is correct. Yes.
That's my point. So we're just doing what we're doing today. Everything else remains in place, as it says in number 3. Okay, the fourth condition we have, folks, is all sections of 1006 have to be met by the contractor. We accept that. Hot mix asphalt is number 5, 100 days a calendar year. 6, this IUP should be valid for 3 years. We have some discussion on that, 3, 5, or 10, and I've heard several people landing on 5, including, I think, maybe Charlie, I'm not sure. But I've heard several people say that 5 commissioners would agree to that. Number 7, hours of operation, we've got from 6 a.m. until 8 a.m. That's pretty good long days, but it isn't exactly in a highly residential area, Monday through Saturday. Okay, number 8, impervious surface where refueling other equipment takes place. That's an easy one. Spill management, that's state laws, MPCA. Waste oil, we don't burn waste oil in the plant. 11, no questions about that, I don't think. 12, we didn't have any issues with that. 13, violation of any, well, that's true whether we say it or not, I think, is it not? Correct staff, so 13 is fine. We had then, someone, I believe maybe it was Charlie, somebody suggested here that number 14, I believe that was Loboda's suggestion, that a condition number 14 that would allow 20-acre open area. So we're somewhere between 5 and 20 on that. And that's one condition that's up in the air a little bit. And then both Commissioner Machenbacher and Hinneker suggested that we add a condition. This would be condition then number 15 that requires the Clarence Kemp letter before the final approval. So anybody can jump in and tell me what you think, but it seems to me we're kind of down to some open area, and we have heard from the applicant and from his contractor and from staff. I guess we're gonna. I'm not going to put the number in there for you folks. Somebody's got to decide if they want to make a motion towards this or further discussion on the open area.
Don, this is Charlie. May I make another comment?
Okay, go ahead, Charlie.
I just want to state it on condition 6, the 5 years. That seems like a reasonable middle ground. So
Very good.
I appreciate that. The condition allowing 20 acres, I just wanted to say again that given the scope of the upcoming contract for MnDOT, that really is the number we project needing.
Okay.
Certainly want to be covered and not have any issue with coming back in the future and have issue with violations.
Okay, thank you. As I read the application, oh, go ahead.
I wanted one more clarification. That 20 does include the existing open space, so it wouldn't be 20 the existing plus 20. It would be 20 cap, that 20 for everything. So just want to clarify that also.
And when we say for everything, we're talking about 20 acres open, including pit roads and parking lots and et cetera?
20 based on the definition that has been used in the previous permits that excluded the road.
Okay, all right.
Area.
Well, commissioners, I'd be open to questions, comments, or a motion.
I'm going to jump out on the limb. This will open it up for discussion, but I would make the motion with including Charlie's modifications as we've discussed. The time limit should be at 5 years, though. That should be settled on. But otherwise, I think the 20-acre allotment, and we're going out on a limb environmentally with it, but this is a gravel area, and we're going to need that gravel from some source. And
it might be closer to the project from there than from some of the other sources, so it might make more sense to concentrate it there. But that would be, I would make that motion then.
Thank you. So if I wanted to just clarify your motion if I can, and that was Commissioner Henniker, that you are moving this to approval with conditions as written, other than condition number 6 says it's valid for 3 years. We're changing that to 5 years, be a 5-year term, and adding a condition number 14. And I just added a couple words in here, and you will see if you agree with this, that would allow up to 20 acres of open pit area. And a number 15 that would say, that would require a letter of agreement from Clarence Kemp. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay, we have a motion from Commissioner Henniker with 15 conditions attached to it. Do we have a second? Is that John?
Commissioner Schlope.
Commissioner Schlope as seconded. Further discussion by the commissioners.
I would just like to think about doing the 20 acres, including roads and parking areas, which eliminates the discussion of what's a road and what's a parking area and what it all is. It would simplify it considerably, and it would reduce the open area a little.
All right, we have a suggestion that we modify that 20-acre open area to include that language, that open area includes all open areas, parking, roads, etc.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
If Judy is seeking to modify my motion with that language, I will at this point say I will accept that as the language of my motion.
Very good. So we have modified the motion to change that number 14. Condition 14 is to allow up to 20 acres of open area, which will include all open area, haul roads, parking lots, plant setup areas, etc. Further, go ahead.
Commissioner Schlope here. I have a quick question. How far is the road running in? I mean, how much acreage would this take up?
Well, it's a long road. It loops around in there a ways. Of course, pit haul roads are subject to change in a moment's notice when you're. But it is you know, you get in a gravel pit, 160 acres, and we're talking about allowing 20 of it open. It takes a considerable amount of roadway to go through 20 acres, and you're dealing with semi-traffic coming back and forth. So you don't do a little trail. You got a good wide road. So there's some area in there, John.
Okay, that could eat up several acres of this 20 acres. That's my concern.
May I, this is Charlie, then may I make a statement?
Go ahead, Charlie.
I would echo what Commissioner Schloop just said. That does burn up a significant amount of acreage. I would request to stay with the existing open area condition.
All right.
Or definition.
Okay.
We may have to calculate.
All right, thank you. All right, commissioners, we have a motion and a second on the table. Further conversation.
I think I'll pull my second back, if I may, since it's been modified.
All right. I got to get back to who made that motion. Was that Jerry? Yeah.
Mayor made the motion.
Yes.
The motion.
Yes, you made the motion, Jerry, and you allowed the modification to your motion. So we have a motion on the table with these modified conditions that allows up to 20 acres. Yes.
This is Heidi.
Heidi?
So Henniker adjusted his motion, and for that adjustment to be accepted, Commissioner Schultz, who did the second, would have to approve that. So if he's not willing to
That's
approve
right.
that, that means the amendment.
It's correct.
And you know that.
Sure. So we're going to start over it, but that amendment won't make it, is what you're suggesting, is that Judy's amendment does not.
Unless there is somebody else who would second that.
That's right. That's where we're going, is we're looking for another second.
I would text it.
Is that
I
Commissioner?
don't think you can do that. Okay.
All right, let me, okay, then let's just say that did not fail. That modification did not pass. So let's start over and with a new motion. And Jerry?
Then I will restate my original motion then.
Okay, so we have a motion on the table, and we know what that motion was. That's the one item in there that's an issue, or that is a contentious issue, is the number 14. We're saying allowing up to 20 acres of open area with, that includes roads, et cetera. And that is the motion on the table. Do we have a second to that motion?
I'm a little confused. Are we doing this roads included or not?
That's roads included, John. This is that same motion that you just withdrew your second to.
Okay.
So we have that motion on the
I
table.
think since, sorry, Don, I think that since Commissioner Schlut did not approve the amendment, you need to not have the amended motion and vote on it, and if it fails, then
That's
you can
correct.
make a new
Okay.
motion that includes roads.
Very good. Then
That's correct.
then I'm gonna call for a vote on that. Well, I gotta back up a minute. We're calling for a vote on the amendment. We can't vote on the motion that we did not get a second to.
The amendment has failed. The
That's
amendment
right.
has failed because the seconder has not accepted it.
That's right. Well, that is where I am, but
Failed.
I'm hearing Heidi say we need to have a vote.
We do need a vote.
Okay, Don,
Yes.
what Jerry said is correct. The amended part does not go forward. So you
Correct.
need to vote on what Jerry did originally.
But we do not have a second to that.
Yes, you do.
The original
You don't
motion
have
we
to-
do.
Yeah.
Well, John's second you're talking about before he withdrew it.
No, Judy
Right.
Judy
John said
seconded
he
it.
would not
Oh, John.
approve the amendment, and since he is the second on the original, the amendment cannot be added without the original second approving it.
That's correct. I understand that. So what we have is a
Does not
motion.
remove his second.
Correct.
Okay,
It
fine.
does not remove his second.
He cannot remove his second is what you're suggesting. Okay. Then we're going to vote on that, on that. So this is for the original with 20 acres, not with the additional restrictions upon it. Is that correct? Everybody knows what we're voting on? I'm not sure.
Without Judy's modification.
That's correct. Yes.
Yep, this is Mueller, just to clarify one more time, you're talking 20 acres beyond any that kind of functional roadways, et cetera.
That's correct. 20 acres of open pit there, excuse me, 20 acres of open pit in this condition and in other conditions is 20 acres of,
Mr. Chair, that's 20 acres of open area as defined.
right,
by
and that's what I'm saying.
The regulations otherwise.
And the regulations allow you to not count pit roads, equipment areas, et cetera.
Correct.
So so the motion that's on the table is all of these conditions we had, except it is not modifying the number 14 we had, it's just saying allowing up to 20 acres of open area, which means pit roads, et cetera, are in addition to that. That is the motion that we are going to vote on. Everyone all right with that?
The only change is number 6.
Right. And in addition, and the number, well, adding number 14 and 15.
Mr. Chair,
Right, correct.
just for clarification, the open area definition is section 2.45 of the zoning ordinance. That would be the criteria that would
All
be
right.
presented.
Right. Okay, everybody's on board with that? We're going to have I'll take a roll call vote for, this is for that original motion with 20 acres plus other areas that aren't covered in that open area. So let's go through the roll. Adam Trefel. Adam, are you in favor or against?
Yeah, I'm here. Yeah, I approve it.
Adam approves.
Aye.
Commissioner Henniker.
Aye. Over.
Commissioner Machenbacher.
Aye.
Commissioner Mueller.
Aye. Over.
Commissioner Stute.
Aye, over.
Well, it appears that we have 5 ayes, and I'm the only one left to vote, so I will vote aye as well. It will be 6 ayes for that motion. And I think that is the end of our agenda.
Who seconded that?
That was made by Commissioner Henniker. Who seconded that, folks? Who was the second? Schlup, John. Well, John, you made, okay, you, didn't you? You did second that, John. Is that correct?
Yes, this was the original motion.
The original motion, correct.
He seconded the original.
All right. So it was a motion by Henniker, second by John, and we voted to approve. I think we have finished our meeting. Do we have a motion to? Huh? Everybody clear? Are we all clear now?
Adjourn.
Yeah, we need a motion to adjourn.
Before you adjourn, I think it should be noted that Charlie Laboda abstained.
Yes,
from the vote.
we've done that. We did that, yes.
Okay.
I clarified that, yeah, but for the vote itself, it's, yeah, Charlie did not vote, and I have him shown as not voting. So. Okay, motion to adjourn? We got a motion by a mumbled voice, and a second. All right, all in favor? Just say aye. Aye. We're out of here. Thank you very much. If anybody's still listening online, thanks for your patience. It was a new experience. And I'll put my mask on now to leave.
This is Charlie Lamore. I'd just like to thank you all for your time.
All right, Charlie, have a good day.
Thanks.
They never did that.
Don, you're a freaking rock star.
Well,